mics.
Nice
There
and
they
simple,
go.
right? Nice and simple.
Yes. Well, I took apart my keyboard and then I put it back together. And as always, when you put stuff back together technologically, I have an extra screw. I don't know where it
How?
goes. I don't know. They reproduce, I swear. But now my spacebar won't work, and I'm like, ugh. So I have to use my backup keyboard. I'm like, God damn it.
Your spacebar won't work?
Well, so
Good
like
lord.
I have an ergonomic keyboard, and so the spacebar like it splits the keyboard in half, and it's
Oh
a
wow.
tension
Okay.
it's a tension spacebar, and so
Hmm.
apparently I misaligned the spring on one of the sides of the spacebar, and so it works, but it like sticks. So like you hit it and it's like space, 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 space. I'm like, no, stop, God, stop. So
Oh, that's so annoying.
I've been sitting here and I've been like, I was typing and I was like, what is going? Oh, you are shitting me.
That's kind of funny after
I'm
the
like,
conversation we had last week.
oh yeah, well that's what I was like, because I took it apart to clean it because it's
Mhm.
just all gunked up just because it's an old keyboard and you should clean them, every year or so. I took it apart and I put it back together, and I was like, where the fuck does screw come from? Like I'm like, why
no.
is there an extra screw? I'm like, well, nothing's falling apart, so I don't. Okay, and I flipped it over and I started typing, and I was like, ah, god damn it. Of course, I was already, and then we had to run to turn in all Pinewood Derby stuff, so I didn't have time to take it all back apart. So it's like sitting like right in front of my. I have two keyboards like sandwiched in front of me. My God.
You're doing well.
Jesus
That's your own
Christ.
fault. It's
Yeah.
your own
Oh,
fault.
yeah. It's totally. Well, and I was sitting here and I was like, I really want to get new keys for this, but I don't know. I need to figure out the key style. Which, speaking of which, pins. I might ping you for that.
Blue.
What?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Well, I'm gonna go back to sleep now.
Let's get this. That's what I'm trying to help with. I'm trying to accomplish the show, and then you can go back to sleep. Blue.
I'm reading. Hang on. What am I doing? Blue takes lead. Oh, okay. That's scary. Right. January 7th. Okay, I'm gonna flip this. Hang on real quick. Why is this?
Flip the toggle.
Well, I just gotta. I have my notes on the wrong screen, basically. Okay.
Ah.
Nope, I didn't want to do that. That was a mistake. Right, there we go. All right. And all right, so you guys good to go? Or you ladies good to go?
Yep, yep.
Indeed.
Let me get this recording started. There we go. All right, perfect. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on January 17th, 20,000. Wow, man, I'm going to just start over because I still have yet to figure out the best way to say the year.
2020.
God. Ugh. Bleh. Bleh. Hang on. Let me. Bleh. Welcome to Focus. Oh my gosh, why are you interrupting me? Ah!
Okay.
In the year of perfect vision. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on January 17th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/Focus Fire Chat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the lore book Dawning Delights. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's explorations. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the perpetually tongue-tied green-eyed music lover.
one of us is always gonna fill that role.
Mhm.
And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Dr. DrJazzyBebop. Jazzy, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm well, thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for
Definitely,
joining us.
yeah, man.
I've been wanting this to happen for like 2 years now. You have
I'm
no
no,
idea.
Oh
I'm
wow,
gonna
that
be,
long?
I'm gonna be, I'm gonna
Wow.
agree with Green on that one. Like you're fighting schedules, and then okay, so are you located like near the fires that are going on? Like how is?
Um. Oh, I'm in Melbourne in the. Okay, yeah, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. For anyone who doesn't know, so my state, Victoria, has been pretty badly
Okay,
affected
I
by
was gonna say, I'm like
bushfires.
you're fighting schedules, the fire.
A
Like
little
I'm
bit. No,
just, yeah,
it's not.
man.
Thankfully, Melbourne is okay. It's been more like regional areas that have been having
Hmm.
the fires, although we have been having
You guys have gotten the
pretty bad
smoke.
smoke
Yeah.
coming
Mhm.
through. Yeah, it's not too bad today, but yeah, there's some days where definitely it's been quite hazy, and they've been giving warnings about that the air quality isn't very good, and
Is that
just to be
where
careful. Yeah.
the tennis tournaments have been?
Yes, the
Is okay?
Australian
Yeah,
Open is
yeah,
in
yeah,
Melbourne. That's correct.
yeah. I was here. They were talking about that earlier today about they kept like they're doing they're like judging the air like every 4 minutes or something, just insane. And it was
Yeah,
like,
that sounds about right.
wow.
Yeah. I think there was some poor player who I don't remember their name, but yeah, had to
Yeah, yeah, that's the
forfeit the
one.
match because
Yeah,
I think
because and then
it
they
was one
sent
of
an
the
open
ladies or
letter.
something.
Yeah,
Just
they're
coughing too much, like bad coughing fits and having trouble breathing. Yeah, just not nice.
oh
Not good.
gosh.
What do you say? Not good conditions to be playing in at all. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think because I think it was the BBC was talking about. They had sent I think it sent an open letter basically to the organizers about the whole thing, and I was like, geez, I can't. I'm like, I'm just trying to get my head around the concept of that in general. So, but
Yeah, a little bit surprised they went ahead with it, although I don't know, I guess, when they decide to cancel. Usually
mm,
it's more if they're canceling, it's on like really hot days. We haven't really had so much, cases that they've
right.
had to cancel because of really bad air quality. So see how it goes.
Definitely.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
oh, go for
it's
it,
just
Green.
hard to kind of even wrap your head around a bit, and I know that I'm sure that is something that has been brought up quite a bit lately, just because it's so personal and so around everybody down there, and just where we're at in the U.S., we're in the Midwest, and you have like Hurricane Katrina happens. Technically, that's nowhere near where either Blue or I are,
Hmm.
but a lot of our friends from overseas will ask. So I'm it's reassuring to hear that you're not so close to where the major burns are happening. So
No, thankfully we're all right here for the moment. Yeah, and I do feel
yeah,
sorry for the poor people out in the more regional areas. Yeah, they've
yes,
definitely been having a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and the
But
weather's not cooperating too much. But yeah.
No.
we should
Um,
shift over into something a little less.
heavy,
s-
a
Yeah.
little bit more festive.
Yes. So Jazzy,
Ta-da-ta.
but Jazzy has been a part of Ishtar Collective for as long as I think it's been around. Weren't you one of the
Oh,
very
no,
first?
no, I
No,
wasn't there,
I thought you were.
originally. Good Lord, when did I join?
You've
I
been there for a
I
while,
can't
though.
remember.
I think it
I
I
just
was
think
remember
it's been at
a
least a
year or
year or
two,
2.
right? Yeah.
you have
It
so
was
many
after D2
recordings.
came out. I remember because I was helping with doing the transcripts of the ghost scans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And then
I got
when was
way
that?
aware of you with your screenshots because
Mhm.
Oh!
we used a few of those for like our early banners.
Mhm.
Oh, did you really?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was the first time I talked to you. I was like,
That's hilarious.
hey, you're one of the few people who
Oh,
actually
wow.
take really decent screenshots in D1. So
Oh, wow, thank you. I feel really
yeah.
special now.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. It's always awesome to hear people, using my screenshots as like wallpapers or whatever. I've had people say like they use them for wallpapers at work, and I'm like, for real? Wow, that's so cool.
No, they're good. You do a really good job with those.
Oh, thank you.
Impressed.
I should explain, I guess, for anyone who doesn't know that I like taking screenshots of all the really beautiful scenery and landscapes in Destiny. Although I haven't had so much time to do it lately, unfortunately, because I've been super busy. But yeah, I guess it's one of those things. One of the things I love about Destiny is that just they do amazing environments. They're
They
just
do.
stunning, and I guess sometimes, it being a first person shooter, it's really easy to just go around, running around shooting things and doing your quests and your bounties and all that just sort of jazz, and not always I guess taking the time to kind of have a bit of a look around. So that's one thing I like doing, just going around exploring and finding the some of the prettier places in game and taking
Hmm.
screenshots of them. Yeah.
So is that what led you into getting into the lore a bit, or was it something totally
uh
different?
Oh, good lord. I'm trying to think. No, I think I got into. When did I get into taking screenshots? This was several years ago. I think it was when I was part of a previous clan while ago, and they used to have. I think they did like kind of clan screenshot competitions. They'd have like a scavenger hunt kind of thing. So they'd
Okay.
say, oh gosh, it's been that long. This was like 2015, 2016 or something.
Nice.
Um, and so they'd have ones, like get a photo like on a ship or something, get a photo with, I don't know, a female vendor or something. There'd be all sorts of things. And um I remember I think, yeah, one of them was like, oh, I could get a photo, but like let's see if I can get it with a nice background.
Mhm.
Um, and I think one of the ones I'd noticed on Earth, I think on the Cosmodrome in D1 at night, if you looked up at the sky, it just has this beautiful aurora. Like the
Mhm.
colors just look lovely. And then I think another one was when I was on one of the times I think I first started paying attention to the scenery was when I was on the moon. And you load in patrol, and usually you just go like you jump on your sparrow and you just go shooting up the hill, and then you go
Mhm.
off and you do your whatever patrols or whatever. And this time I thought, no, I'm going to just turn around and have a look, and turn around and just saw like there's this just stunning view of the sun and the sky, and just the stars everywhere. I was like, wow, that just looks like, what a phenomenal view, and it's been there the whole time. Like, I think I've been
Yeah.
playing several months at this point. I was like, "That view's been there the whole time, and I never noticed it
Right.
because I just never bothered, like, just looking in that direction." And then it got me thinking, "Wow, I wonder what other, you know, pretty places there are that, like, I've run past probably, like, hundreds of times and just never looked." So I used to do more of just like going around and exploring like everything. Haven't done it
Yeah.
so much in D2, unfortunately. Just been
Well, university came first for
yeah,
sure.
uni's been a bit busy, but like there's definitely some places I'd love to go and take more screenshots of, like especially with Shadow Keep, like some of those places on the moon
Oh
look so
yeah.
cool.
So I made the personal discovery about it's like a space station that's floating above the moon a bit. I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my gosh,
nice.
I never really noticed it." Apparently, it's been there since D1. I had no idea. Like, I never looked up
Oh,
at it.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that one
It
up in
just
the
caught me
sky
completely off
somewhere.
guard. But yeah,
That was Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love walking around the moon. It was so especially, yeah, it was just so nostalgic, like going back to these old places, going, wow, I remember like walking around these halls and things and like
mhm.
in D1 and getting to come back to it was really cool.
Yeah. All right, so I've got 2 questions for you beyond what we've kinda talked about already. What got you into the lore? If it wasn't the screenshots, what was it?
Um, I can't, I'm probably not remembering exactly. Since this was a while ago, I started playing a few weeks before Taken King came out. So when was that? 2015. So I'm not a
Mhm.
day one player, but I have been playing it for quite some time. I got into it because I used to play Halo a lot when I was
Nice.
younger. But I hadn't been playing video games for a few years, I think, at this point. So I'd heard Bungie had a new game, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. So I didn't really know anything about it, other than like it was a sci-fi shooter, kind of similar to Halo, with enemy alien races and all that, and that was about it. And my
Yeah.
brother got it for me for my birthday, which is about 3 weeks or something before Taken King. So initially, I
Nice.
just came into this game and I had no idea what the hell I was getting myself into. But like I found, I really enjoyed the gameplay and the missions and all that. Yeah, it didn't sort of. I think initially, I don't think I really got probably into the lore until after Taken King. I
So
think
that
the
was the
thing
one
that
to
got
get
me
into.
yeah, it was a good time. I think what really like, I think I was sort of, like, kind of interested in general details, like, "Oh, okay, who are the Fallen? Like, what are they?" And all that, but not really delving deep into it. I think it was if I remember right, it was Books of Sorrow that got me really hooked on the lore. I remember reading that and just being so fascinated by, the story of how the Hive came about and backstory of Oryx and his sisters and the worm gods and all of that, and I thought, "Wow, this is like, this is so cool." It's like a story on such a grand epic scale, and then that got me really, interested, what other kind of, really interesting stories, are there in the lore, and I think I got hooked from then. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Books of Stars. I think if I remember right, it probably wasn't the first lore thing I read, but I think that's what got me hooked, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final question for you is what class do you primarily play?
Titan at heart.
Really?
Yes, I am a Titan.
You are one of the few lore titans that I know then.
Oh,
Which is
really?
yeah, it's like
Few
a
and
lot of
far
them are
between, huh?
right. I think that's awesome though. I love titans. I think they are fun-loving people, a lot of them.
Ah,
So it's
that's good
great.
to hear.
Yeah.
I think when I first joined, like when I first started playing, and they had came up with the option to pick classes, and I didn't know anything about any of them.
Mhm.
And I think I looked up like a quick guide just to see if there's much difference. And I picked Warlock initially because it says something about space magic, and I was like, who doesn't want to use space magic?
Right?
So I got into that, and then I think second character was a hunter, and Titan was my third. And I don't know what it like something about Titans. I just found I like the other two classes, but Titan is more my favorite. I think partly also I like the idea of Titans being like the defenders of the city and humanity. I guess I like that.
I know,
That and,
right?
punching things.
That and punching thing, yeah, and then the bubble, oh my gosh, the bubble strats are real
Oh, the
again.
bubble,
Just
yes. And,
yeah.
who hasn't totally accidentally punched a cursing thrall, right?
I think we all have, like, yeah, I mean, I
Just
have.
like you do it and like like just after you're like, "Oh crap, that was a bad decision."
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah,
dear.
yeah,
But
it's
yes,
great.
Titan for me.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you kinda hopped in with us and joined us on this one. Like I said, I've seen your video clips and your transcriptions and whatnot on Ishtar for a long time, so I
Oh wow.
really wanted to get you involved and just kind of hop on with us because I wanted to get your perspective on something, just anything, and it so happened we got to do Dawning Delights or get to do Dawning Delights this time. So thank
Yes,
you.
which I'm very excited about. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Nice to discuss such a wholesome book. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Right? Something not so heavy at the moment?
Yeah, it's just so cute. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Blue, do you have any special announcements or anything before we start diving in?
No, not this week.
Not this week? Okay.
Do I have any special announcements? I
I
don't
like how
think
you're
I do.
asking me.
I know. I'm like, I don't think I have any special announcements.
Not at the moment. I have a teaser. I have the design figured out for this year's Guardian Con shirt.
Yeah. So we're gonna do that, and then I guess as far as special announcements, it's not really a special announcement, but we kind of were talking. Jazzy kind of just brought it back to my mind. If you haven't already, Bungie has released their Guardians for Australia's T-shirt. It's an awesome design. Absolutely love it. And then also be sure to also give some love over to the DDU podcast. They, I talked to Matt about and Rick a little bit about this, but they're going to be supporting, their charity drive is going towards the Australian Red Cross. So that is an organization that is not restricted to just one area, but actually the entirety of the country. So, yeah, that was the only thing with the shirt. And I think Wires actually came out and said that they are working to not be restricted to, is it in South Wales? Is that Jazzy?
New South Wales.
New South Wales. Okay.
Pretty close.
I'm like, I say it and I'm like, that makes no sense in my head, but whatever. But no, because I know Wires, I think, is technically they're only allowed to operate within New South Wales. But that has been, they are in the process of like working around because of the extraneous circumstances and everything. But the Australian Red Cross is not restricted. So that's what the DDU podcast is actually, that's one of the reasons they are helping or going towards that.
Nice.
Yeah, chat's loving it. Listen, chat. I'm talking. You know what? Listen, I'm done. Green.
Let's talk about the Dawning Delights.
So yes, did you want to do your teaser or did you?
Oh, I just said that I know what the design is for Guardian Con. That's your teaser.
That's the teaser. Teasers.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Flag. Look. I'm just gonna smack chat real quick. So all right. So let's run through. We'll just run through a quick housekeeping notes as usual, and then we'll jump right into the chat. So the Dawning Delights, Dawning Delights has been around 2 years now.
2 years.
And go for it.
Yeah, it's a collection of, I would almost call them like journal entries is what they kind of feel like, because it's Eva talking about, in most of these, Eva talking about different characters within the game that we know, different NPCs. There are a few entries that don't necessarily follow that format, but for the most part, it's just Eva's take on a bunch of different people. I think my favorite take is still the Zavala take, because it's wholesome, but also kind of that same feeling that a lot of us have. And we're going to get into at least a brief summary of all of them. There are, I believe, 22 entries for this book, which is, it's an actual book rather than a booklet, in my opinion. And there's a bit of significance within the book itself that kind of ties into some history of some of our NPCs that we don't get a whole lot of information about. We have Amanda Holiday, we have Hawthorne has an entry, we get information about Mark and Devram. And if you don't know who Mark is, you will by the end of Devram's entries. Just, there's a lot of little tidbits, and it's a really mostly fun-loving book. There's not a whole lot of darkness to it. With that being said, last week we did the whole Eva's journey. Do we want to start with any Eva quotes, or do we want to just jump right into the book, Blue?
Well, I think the thing with the quote, you're correct in that Dawning Delights is not a lot of darkness, but the origins of the Dawning kind of points to a bit of a dark time. And this was back in Rise of Iron when we kind of got all this information. What was that? That was that was one of the first suits of our sets of armor that we got that was specific to a seasonal thing too, if I remember correctly. It was pretty cool armor. But this was the one where they talk about, like, the one that, the quote that just always sticks with me, like, just really hard to think about is, and I can't remember which piece of armor, I think it was the chest or it was the head, but it's so much hung on our heads, which path to take, which children. And it's just like, I remember reading these quotes on this armor, and it's Eva really predominantly that's kind of speaking about it. And it's just like, Jeez. Like, you want to talk about just something that like hammers home the difficulty that they had to go through. It's like so what they're saying is, they had to choose to leave children behind because they couldn't bring everyone. And it's
So
just like, oh man.
the the most basic history of the Dawning is the fact that it comes from a time where Eva specifically, now granted, Eva is not necessarily the originator of it. She and Tess both organized the first one,
Yeah.
but the
Well,
idea behind it, I think,
and
is
see,
older than those two. I
I
don't
think
think
they
it,
organized they brought it to the tower, but
right, but I think it's way
Dawning,
older than
yeah,
that.
Dawning seems a lot older because there's stories of Amanda having Dawning on the road to the
Hmm.
last city. So like the
Yeah.
Dawning is like this, the Dawning is it's at the end of the year. So it's very reminiscent of like modern day Christmas, New Year's Eve. If you're familiar with
Hanukkah.
Christian, yeah, or Christianity, there's like the
Mm.
Epiphany, yeah, Hanukkah, all the kind of world religions and world celebrations of just the end of the year. Like even if you're not religious, that's kind of a celebration. The winter solstice, the whole thing. Everything's coming to an end, and a new beginning is occurring. And so that's what the dawning is it's the dawning of a new year. However, the other thing that like the thing that I kind of take in it is that it's also the dawn is also a really cold point of the day. And when you look at the rise of iron armor, you're talking about people who froze to death while they were, being led through killing freezing blizzards. And so it's the dawning. They were always looking for that dawning of light on the horizon. And when they found it, when they did see it, that's kind of where I kind of get the idea. That's kind of the idea behind the dawning crystal is like that's the the breaching of the sun over the horizon and the return of warmth. Really, that's just kind of my head canon, but
I like that.
Yeah, I
it's
Nice
do too.
metaphor.
well, because if you look at and the reason why is because I actually got the ghost shell this year, the little dawning crystal ghost shell. It was actually
Hmm.
really
So
kind of cool.
nice.
But if you look at the way that crystal's designed, it's almost like a sun. It's like a minute. It's like an ice sun. So that's just kind of I was looking at it and I was like, that actually kind of makes sense because it seems odd that is like the centerpiece of everything. Like it was a big deal to get Ikora to make it for the tower.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I would agree with that. There's not a whole lot describing why Eva wanted Ikor to make it,
right.
but she sure does go after Ikor
Oh
every
yeah,
year to
she
make it.
Doom for Zombie says that I think all the holidays is in the city for a while before they come up to the tower. That is actually correct. We get that kind of confirmed with Festival of the Lost, and again, Eva is responsible for a large, I think, pretty much all of the festivals being brought to the tower. Eva is the driving force behind that, and the reason why a lot of times they have not taken place in the tower is because of the segregation between guardians and citizens. The guardians Eva is like the bridge between those two. Eva says, I think I want to say it's in the Dawning Delights actually. She talks about how the guardians don't really know how to approach citizens sometimes. Or no, it's one of the ships, the Insomnia ship. Um, and she's like, she says that each guardian has a different approach to it, but the thing is that she feels that they need to know that they are welcome. They are welcome to be included, however they feel comfortable. She wants them included in all
Mhm.
of that.
So, do we want to kind of dive into the perspective of Eva on some of our different characters, or not our characters, but our NPCs within the game? Because Eva has quite a bit to say, which is not only just revealing about her own character herself, but also a little bit more about how certain characters are perceived within
Hmm.
the Dawn or through
Yeah,
her.
I mean, the first one that I see that you have here is the joy of the dawning. It's a reminder that we should never ever lose hope. I mean, it's, again, Eva does not have a bright past. Eva's past and Eva's story is one that is not very happy. And so, again, her saying that is even more powerful given her history. And then you kind of see that in her view of everyone around her. Because even Drifter, she's like, I don't trust you, but I'm going to give you a cookie. Like, it's like she's like, I don't think you should trust him, but you just give him a cookie.
Well, everybody's welcome in the dawning.
Right.
Including Aldrin. Anyway.
Yes, definitely including Aldrin.
Pauses for effect.
The well of optimism that is his ghost.
Well, yes. And what better ghost to have for somebody who is the most emo character in the entire game?
The bulldog.
Right?
I just want to see Eva adopt Aldrin.
Oh,
I like that.
I totally would see it happen too.
Yes, I could totally see her just bringing him under his wing and being like, come on, we'll cheer you up, give you some nice tea and try and make you a bit happier, feel a bit more welcome. Could
That would
totally
be
see her
nice.
saying that.
Yeah.
This is what I need to see.
Poor Aldrin. But
Yeah,
it
poor
is
Aldrin
a
indeed.
slight confirmation of where he's at, and that's not necessarily within the dawning itself. That's within one of the cards we got for the dawning about the ship. Amnestia, I believe, is the name of it.
Amnestia, yep.
But I think, Blue, you should jump into the first card of the dawning and talk about our other favorite Blue Awoken.
Oh gosh. Is this the... Okay, you want me to talk about the knitters?
Yeah, talk about Zavala.
All
and
right.
Also the terrible joke, apparently.
Oh. Oh, that reminds me of a joke. Oh man. So this entry is Lighter Days, and it's like I love how Eva explains her progression of kind of getting to know Zavala. She's like, if you've never met him, he can be a bit stern. He's hardened further since the Red War, I'm sorry to see. So obviously this is Season of the Forge, which is when we got this particular entry. She goes on to say, I suppose we all have to some degree. In any case, that very first meeting left a sour taste in my mouth. I hate to admit that I avoided Zavala when I could after that, though sometimes he makes himself unavoidable. Which I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Hang on. It's often the sternest among us who have the saddest hearts, which is kind of interesting. This was like she's remembering one of the first times, the first dawning at the tower. And she and Tess had just been decorating, and she had left to get something when Zavala began heading her way. And so she wished him happy dawning, and then he wished her the same, and he smiled. And then she says she doesn't remember what brought this on, but suddenly he said, "Oh, that reminds me of a joke." She says, at first I thought I must have heard him wrong, because the Titan Vanguard had always struck me as the, quote, no time for joking, end quote, sort. But he had barely begun telling the story before I noticed how much more relaxed his posture was. It seemed the spirit of the dawning had reached even this stone man. I'm just going to read this because it's just terrible. I remember only pieces of the joke these days. I believe it had to do with a guardian and a falling captain, but I clearly remember that he stumbled over the first few words and had to start again. I gave the warmest smile I could to encourage him, and he went on to tell one of the longest, most awkward jokes I had ever heard. And listen, I loved every minute of it. Truly, I couldn't have been happier. Oh, I clapped and laughed along with what I swear was real true joy from Zavala. To have such a guarded soul open like that, few things are more beautiful. I admired him so in that moment, that he could push himself beyond the boundaries he held himself to. I remember hoping that I could someday be so brave in my own way. For the first time, I didn't just respect him as one of the city leaders. For the first time, I felt real, genuine affection for Zavala, the person. Zavala, my friend.
I love how Zavala is going to moonlight as a comedian after this whole thing's over with.
Would that be before or after he has his knitting circle?
I mean, he's multi-talented. Like, the guy, he's got a soft
Indeed.
side. He's the real romantic character.
He knits with Kevlar.
He knows Shakespeare
He
and
knows
Art of
Shakespeare.
War, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else.
The Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Gosh, Zavala is such an interesting little character, and it's
Yeah,
nice
I
to
do
see
like
that.
him.
It's I know he gets a lot of flack for technically just in a lot of people's words the way he handled the Red War, but he's still just a person too. He's
He did a good job in my book.
Yeah, he's
I
just
would say
slightly
so.
unapproachable, I think, is the biggest thing, because he's
Mm.
he's the adult, and he's always the adult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think people
he's
probably also compare him to Cade and feel like Cade's the fun, jokester, and Zavala seems a lot more serious and not so fun, I guess.
he's the
Probably,
one
yeah.
that he's like, we don't have time for jokes. We have to defend it because we might die. Everyone else is like, oh,
Yeah.
just relax. He's like, no, did you not hear what I just? You know what? Just forget it. Like,
It sounds like an actual conversation.
yeah, it's like you are. We might. You know what? Yeah. Okay.
And Okora just standing in the background.
Yeah,
shaking
and
her
Cora's
head.
just like, I don't have time for this.
Yep.
What was it that
Pretty
she told
much.
Cade? Entertaining or fooling you would be the least I could do, or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing
Something
from
like
D2.
Fooling you would be would be the
fooling you
easiest
would be the
thing
easiest thing I do
or
do
something?
today or something. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I've forgotten about that one. Been a while.
But I think we should move right along, because we got a lot of cards to get through. To Tradition is Bigger Than You. Jazzy, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, I can do this one. So this one's about Ikora. So I think Eva's talking about traditions for the dawning, and say how she's at this point she's back in the tower, wants to have a really lovely dawning celebration. So she asks Ikora to make the dawning crystal, the lovely one that you see in the tower, and she sounds like she asks her repeatedly until she finally gets her to do it.
Hey, Ikora. Hey, Ikora. Hey, Ikora.
Hey, listen. Wait, wrong game.
Oh. Well done.
That yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, thank you. So she said, she makes an appointment, to talk about the decoration. She knows that she's busy, so when she comes to find Ikora and she hears her talking with someone, she doesn't want to barge right in. So we'll probably call this eavesdropping, I suppose. And Ikora is apparently, sounding a bit angry about, having to do the dawning decorations. She thinks it's a bit frivolous. And then her ghost is saying, it's not frivolous. People need this. And she's saying that she's got other things, to worry about. There's stuff happening out on the troubled shore, and her hidden reporting. I assume this is about Drifter, probably also concerned about him. And then saying that she hasn't heard anything from Osiris, and sounds a little bit sad. I think that like she said, not that she expects it, but obviously perhaps she'd like to hear from him,
I think it's just
and
more the
then
realization that there are a lot of people who need a tradition to hold on to. Right?
yeah, yeah, I think that's probably what it definitely sounds like that's what her ghost was trying to get across to her. Um and then then she picks up that Eva is there, and so Eva comes across to her, wishes her happy dawning. Um let's see what else. then she after I think saying no twice, she finally agrees. Yep, okay, she'll do the dawning crystal, and sounds like her. Uh, so yeah, she does that. What else have we got here? So then yeah, her Eva is running around doing errands with her assistant Malia, and so they come up to see Ikora when she creates the huge dawning crystal that you see, and uh, trying to think how much I need to summarize of this.
No, you're
Um,
good.
uh, and her assistant Malia, is I think probably quite shocked, um, and or yeah, we'll say that. And drops all the packages she's carrying, and Ikora comes over to help them pick her up, and then, poor Malia, she's actually just crying, but, apparently her family, Eva says, Malia's family escaped the city during the Red War, you see, so they survived and have a home again. There have never been many beautiful things in their lives, which is quite lovely.
Mhm.
It must have been nice for her to be seeing that really beautiful crystal, and Malia, touches Ikora's arm and bows a thank you, and, then Eva bends down to take the packages from Ikora, all except one, which is bound in golden ribbon and embossed with an open eye encircled by a sun. So, and she gives the package to Ikora, and then hears Ikora's ghost whisper to say, "I told you so."
Mhm.
And so yeah, it's just quite cute. Like,
Gotta
quite
love
nice.
Ophiuchus.
Yeah. That's it's nice also to see Ikora actually talking to her ghost, since
Mhm.
there was that long what was it, like 60 something
Seven,
years or
yeah, it was
something that
like
they
60
didn't
or 70
talk?
years.
Or she
Yeah.
didn't talk rather to her ghost,
She
so
just ignored him the entire time.
yeah, so nice to see, at some point they must have made up, I suppose, or she's started talking to him again, so yeah, I
Something.
think that's about it.
Yeah. So after that, we get to Dawning Before the Dawning, which is actually the story of Amanda on the road, Amanda Holiday. And it's it's Eva reflecting on a story that Amanda had told her about when they were coming to the tower and some of the hardships that they were dealing with. There was you get a little bit of information about her mother and her father in some ways. Nora met Amanda's father in some half abandoned village, and when she told him about the last safe city, he followed her, and they had no family but themselves. They picked up fellow refugees on the way and lost others. And this main part of the story is in this entry particular is the story of Amanda and these refugees on the way to the tower having their own dawning celebration. And this is what Blue had mentioned earlier about how the dawning is older than the tower. It's older than the traditions of the tower, at least. And Amanda told me about one particular dawning they had shared out in the wild. They had fallen in with another family that had a child, Lucia, a bit older than Amanda. They were agreeable travel companions, and they found themselves in the thick of a forest with the wind wailing and a storm coming down, branches flying, and they realized they had to stay put. So they find this drop ship and lean up a wing and crumpled siding and squeezed all together, all grown-ups and the little ones to be in this dry little space. And Amanda's mother is the one who kind of initiated the whole thing, and basically she sent the adults out to go grab forage stuff to forage food for them and water or something to drink. And Amanda's father came back with all sorts of different things, long leaf plants to weave into mats, and the companions came back with water flasks, some prickly fruit, and a dozen or so wild vegetables like cucumbers. So they feasted on this. That was their holiday meal. With that, I think the prickly fruit, you get a description from Amanda about it, that it was slightly sour. I think the prickly fruit is probably like, something. It's not. I don't know if it's lychee or what is it? Ramadan. Ramadan. That's a celebration. Uh,
Rambutan?
Ramutan or dragon fruit. it says that it's slightly sour, so it may not actually be anything truly relatable.
Mm.
In my head canon, I think it's more like a lychee or the ramatut, just because
Okay.
that idea, the prickly fruit, or it could be a prickly pear type thing, because it talks about white fruit within it. So they feast upon all these different aspects, and together the girls made a miniature garland of tiny bulbs. Amanda basically created Christmas lights for them. She's the one who helped fashion it. They celebrated, and they kind of just had that kind of somber yet really really encouraging celebration out in the wild, where they basically made the best of what they had and realized that their togetherness is really the main part of the dawning. Really really sweet story, nice information
Mm.
about Amanda's family, just her own journey, which Amanda's journey to the tower is kind of a sad one if you know the full of it, but this is a happy moment within there. Any other touch points that you guys think I missed on that?
Was that the one? Was that the one with the lights? Did you mention that? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, she
perfect.
she made the Christmas
She made the
lights.
Christmas lights, yeah, because that was the first hint too of her being like old hand with electronics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did seem like a bit of a nod to saying that might have been how she got interested in
Make
doing,
yourself useful.
that kind of stuff that led to her, yeah, working on like sparrows and ships and that sort of thing, which is nice as
Probably.
well. Yeah.
All right, Blue.
Well, you want to talk about like one that's kind of almost a tearjerker, is it's the feeling that counts, and this one is with Banshee 44.
Mm, poor
Oh my
Banshee.
gosh, he is so adorable.
I
Um,
know, right? Can we just
so
all give him hugs, please?
yeah, it's just like it's so he's like, oh my gosh. So anyway, so basically this is Eva. She has been told by her suppliers that they delivered a couple boxes to the gunsmith by mistake. So she goes to Banshee to sort it out. And of course Banshee, being Banshee 44, has no idea what she's talking about. Um but she says he recognizes me and I notice his eyes glow a teensy bit brighter. Must be about the dawning, he mumbles and turns on his heel and heads straight to some shelves in the back. And he comes back with two big boxes. And he hands them to her, and he's like, "Are these them?" And she says they open it up, and this is like hilarious. So like the first one is a very old box of chocolates. She's like, "You probably should throw these away." A copy of Hunter of the Heart, which is
It's a
described
dirty book.
as described as I know this novel, but it is not for everyone.
For Cade, apparently.
Oh my. And so basically Eva's like, "Oh no, no, no. These are presents people have given you for the dawning, Banshee." And he's like, "Oh." And then he like puts it away, and then he pulls out the other box, and this is the part that like just melts me. Is he pulls out the other box and he opens it, and it's full of dawning gifts wrapped in brightly colored paper and tied with glittery ribbon. Some are in tiny boxes, but some are guns, of course, and they are all meticulously labeled. And Eva's like, "I think these are the presents you are giving to friends this year." And she nods, and then he then goes through and reads every single label. And then Eva says that she also notices that he's even written instructions on how to use the gifts. And then he goes on to say, I got in the habit of writing everything down. Sometimes I don't always remember." He waves the thought away. And then she's like, "Okay, so I still need my supplies, the box that she originally came to get." And he's like, "Oh, I know those." And he goes, he's going to go take the boxes back, and Eva tells him, "You should label them old dawning gifts and new dawning gifts to be delivered." And he agrees and writes on the lids. And then he comes back with her packages, and he makes sure to tell her, "I never forget my friends for the dawning." I'm
Mm,
like,
he's so sweet.
I love
Yeah,
Banshee. Like,
he is very sorry.
But yeah, so and I think she says at the beginning too, he's like one of the older residents of the city in the tower. Yeah, some residents of the tower have been around for very long indeed. The Guardians, the Exos, the old Iron Lord. They have seen dawning after dawning. Even before the tower began observing the holiday as we now know it, there were those who would always celebrate with similar ceremonies of light and hope. Sometimes these memories blend together, but the feeling remains. So again, kind of nodding to Banshee being habitually like this, not necessarily because he remembers it, but because he feels like this is the right thing to do.
Hmm.
Gee. Our choices define us. Jazzy?
Alrighty. So this one is about Hawthorne. Gives a little bit of a background um, on her. When she was younger. And quite clear, Eva seems to really admire Hawthorne. Says that, sometimes when I face something frightening, I think of the strongest people I know and draw strength from them. Soraya Hawthorne is one of those people. I know her brusque attitude can be off putting, and that's intentional on her part, but once you get past that, there is so much to learn. So apparently, Hawthorne was orphaned when she was young, and Devram and his husband Mark adopted her or took her in. Um, and I think Eva Sam mentions that they must have been pretty good role models for her, and that's why, one reason she's turned out the way she has. Um, they raised her to be sure of herself and to always do what she thought was right, even though that ultimately led to her having to leave the city. So apparently, from what Hawthorne says, one day she came home and she found Mark and Devram sitting at the kitchen table, and they asked her to sit down, and then asked if there was anything she wanted to tell them, and she said no. They said, right,
This
going into
conversation
parent
is
mode.
so amazing.
And then Mark asked her to try again, but she was silent. So he told her that Executor Hideo, who's from New Monarchy, had stopped by their home. She asked how he was. You know how he is, Devram said. Tell us what happened. And Hawthorne says his face got in the way. And then Mark says that Hideo claims that he caught her stealing supplies that morning and asked, did she have anything to say about that? And she says she did not. And Mark reminds her that stealing supplies and breaking a faction leader's nose were both good ways to get kicked out of the city. And Saraya, just shouted her explanation, saying, that the factions didn't care about the people who needed food and supplies, the people who could not pledge to a faction because they were too busy struggling to survive. Like she wanted to help them, so she would sometimes steal supplies from New Monarchy.
She's a
And
Robin Hood character here.
yeah, she is too. And Devon asked her, what about Hideo? And she explained that when he'd found her, he'd said all manner of nasty, evil things to her. She was worthless, she was nothing, things like that. And I love the way Eva says this. Devram agreed Hideo was, well, I won't repeat it, but suffice to say it means an unpleasant person. um, Good old Eva. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently, Hideo was insisting that Hawthorne be punished, and I think that apparently just gave her the motivation to decide that she wanted to leave the city. And she thought maybe that was partly why she'd punched Hideo. Um, and she told that to Mark and Devram, and I just loved the way, loved their response. They were just quiet for a bit, then Devram broke the silence. Well, let's get packed. Like, he's just so sweet, doesn't even question it. Like, yep, okay, you want to leave the city? Cool, we're going with you. Like, I just, they're so lovely. Um, and she disagrees, with them coming with her. She says, she wasn't about to let her decisions uh, hurt these men who had taken her in and cared for her. They'd done nothing wrong. And they had a big argument about it for a long time until she she finally said, if you try to come with me, I'll run away. And they so they try to convince her one more time, to let them come with her, and she was quite adamant and said, "I won't let you suffer from my choices. What else could they do?" And Mark said, he could hold off Hideo for a day or two, so they could all make a plan, and then he said, "You're going somewhere close enough that we can come and check on you as often as we like, at least for a while. That is non-negotiable." And Eva says he had no negotiating power, of course, but
Mhm.
but Thoreau agreed anyway. So apparently, she stayed very near the city for over a year before she finally said a proper goodbye to them and headed out further into the world. And yeah, and then Evert says, Soraya Hawthorne is, in my mind, the definition of doing what you think is right, regardless of the consequences. She knew it was right to help struggling families. She knew it was right to not put Devram and Mark in harm's way, and she knew it was right to give them some peace of mind by staying close. That is the kind of true courage I've always admired. So, yeah, I quite like that entry. It's very
Mm.
nice.
Mhm. I like how it's
Oh,
followed up with an entry about Devram.
yes, yeah. Nice way to tie into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Segues for the
Mm.
win.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mm.
Devram, the entry about him is kind of more of a remembrance between her, Eva and him, and some of the growth. You hear Eva talk about her own personal growth throughout all of the story, and especially through the Red War. And she made a friend in Devram, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly from last week, that she made a friend in Devram right after the Red War happened, within like on the farm and everything.
Hmm.
And
That's at
she talks
least
about
that's
him.
what I got the feeling of, at least,
Hmm.
because that's when he formed. What was it? The Old Guard.
Hmm. Yeah, which is amusing. I'll call him the seasoned guard for anybody who gets upset about being called old. But Eva talks about how he looks out for others and helps anyone who asks. She said she saw him many times after she made her way back to the farm. He'd come by from time to time to check in on everyone and make sure everything was going all right. We sat down for tea a few times, such a kind, sincere soul. We need more of those. She goes on to talk about what's out there. They have kind of arguments time and again about the merits of fighting versus the merits of doing what Eva does with the organization. And Devon felt very strongly about you still have to stand up to it. Even if you are an organizer, you really have to stand up to it. And the line in particular, he says, Eva, this isn't some what if situation. You've already had to defend yourself. It stands to reason you'll have to do it again. The Cabal aren't backing down, and they're not the only threat. To know all that and still not even try to protect yourself, it's irresponsible. Just kind of a throwback into Eva's journey with her having to. She picked up the shotgun, and if you remember, she had injured herself with the shotgun because most likely it was geared towards more of a guardian stance rather than a normal human, and even then, Eva's older, so even if it wasn't a normal human, a 12 gauge can very easily bruise ribs if you don't put it in the correct place as far as like taking the impact. And when Eva went back to the tower, they still had like correspondence via letter, but one of the correspondence that she got was a package from Devram himself where he had sent her a sidearm with beautiful ornate design and antique coloring. The note from him says, Eva, my friend, I was sorry to hear that you left the farm after all, but very glad to know that you'll be among dear friends. In that spirit and in the spirit of the dawning, I wanted to offer you this gift. It has been passed down through my family for generations. It's a K family heirloom. And before you throw it away, you should know that it doesn't fire. I thought this might be a nice compromise and hope you'll accept it. In the hope, I hope the tower treats you well, old friend. Devram. So even though he knows that she's not going to pick up a firearm and join the fight, he still wanted to give her something that to him is also very precious, that family heirloom. Kind of a sadder story, but very, very poignant as well. Blue, dawning on the storming seas.
Dawning on the star. I'm surprised you let me talk about this one.
Just because it's Sloane?
Just because it's Sloane.
It may be because I'm partial to a card later on
that
I wanted to make sure I was in the correct order to get to.
I see how you're doing this. So I found something really interesting about Sloane is that she's identified as a Stoneborn. Which is interesting because if I remember, it's also called out that there are no Stoneborn Titans left. So I was like, huh, okay. Anyways, that was interesting. But no, so it's basically Sloane is writing to Eva, just basically telling her thank you for everything, especially packaging up the chicken, which I didn't know she sent Colonel out there, but apparently.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. No, Colonel.
Bird. Chat's not happy with me. So, anyways, so she says that she's tried decorating the railings outside the command center with all the garlands, but the Fallen kept picking at it for target practice. And so basically she goes on to say, that it gave them an opportunity to take a break and to celebrate a pseudo dawning even out on Titan. And, she says that she said, we cut our protein rations into fun shapes. I was like, what? and once we got your taffy warmed up enough to chew, it was heaven. I'm like, this is such a Titan. Like, this is such a Titan's letter. Like, it's just like, I'm like, what is going on? Someone
it's also just a reminder of how cold it is there. You don't see it as a guardian. You don't feel it, but man.
That's true.
Well, yeah. And then someone apparently cross-stitched "Where's my beacon?" to hang in her quarters. Apparently it's an inside joke for her inspirational quote. Yeah, so she says, she was, and she goes on to explain that, like, the gifts that change hands on Titan are decent tools, heavy ammo, and thick socks. Maybe that doesn't impress people accustomed to the dawning in the towers, but those presents have worth to us. When we joined hands afterward, whether for warmth or just conviviality, we got to talking in a way we never really had before. I don't think I've ever voluntarily shared stories about myself in my life. We talked about who we were before the Red War, where we came from, and even where we might want to go in the future. It's not easy here on this storm-tossed moon. One jolt and you're tumbling off a platform into eternity. Between the Fallen and the Hive and the elements, we were always just struggling to stay alive. But as we sat there chatting, we felt alive. I guess I wrote this all to say thank you, Eva, for reminding us to take a moment to appreciate and rejoice no matter what. I find that inspiring.
That's nice.
And then Eva's opinion. I have never left Earth, and Titan sounds like a very interesting place.
Too polite to say what she really
I know, yeah. It's
thought.
like, I'm like, oh, Grandma's not impressed. Oh man. So yeah, that was from Sloane.
I think that "Where's my beacon" bit is I think that's a reference to one of the Titan adventures.
Yeah, it's because the Fallen keeps stealing.
Where's my beacon?
The Fallen kept stealing it. She's
What's
like,
it?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna finish.
I was like, what's it? Yeah, there's that, like, looking at the transcripts. What's it? Savala says Sloane is stepped aside for the moment. The things she's
Blistering,
shouting
yes.
would blister your ears. Oh, so good.
Oh gosh.
So I think the next one is celebrate each other.
So I think this is me, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Alrighty. So this one's about the lovely AI failsafe. So Eva, well, not failsafe. Eva says, that she'd heard about the Exodus colony ships. She didn't really know much about them, and she'd forgotten about it until some Guardians told her they'd found one of the Exodus ships crashed on Nessus, and they told her about what happened to its failsafes. And she says, I understand they were originally one AI, the ship's navigational intelligence, but with time they separated. It sounds to me like one of them is always happy and the other is always sad. That's no way to live for either of them. These things must exist in balance. I know they're computers, but I worry for them. And she says the one guardian told her recently of the time he told the failsafes about the Dawning Festival. Um, he'd gone to see them to turn some bounties in and mentioned that he was excited to get back to Earth to participate in the festivities. So they asked him to explain, what is this Dawning, as they'd never heard of it. And he said something to the effect of, it's a winter celebration that combines several old Earth traditions. And, and Eva says they responded, I will try to word this exactly as he did, since he prided himself on his imitation of them. They responded by the happy one saying, according to my database, Earth's winter occurs when one hemisphere is oriented away from the sun. Why do you celebrate being cold? Then the sad one said, I mean, I can't feel cold, but it sounds awful. So um, that's probably a really terrible imitation. So this Guardian said something like, it's more that we're celebrating each other, which I love because that is how I've always thought of it as well. We're all here together, eating sweets and being with each other. The fail-safes asked a few more questions, and then the happy one said, if we are celebrating each other, how can I participate in the dawning? I am all alone. It is very depressing. And the sad one said, I'm not going to celebrate the fallen. And so, the guardian, Eva's guardian friend, said, you can wish every guardian that comes out to Nessus a happy dawning. Celebrate with us. We would love that. And that seemed to cheer both of them up a bit. And apparently, they practiced wishing him a happy dawning for the better part of an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently, they needed a fair bit of practice, I suppose.
I
um,
Phil's
and
not
Eva
great at
said,
it.
I know. Eva says, go visit them if you have a chance. Being far from the city shouldn't stop anyone from having a pleasant dawning. So that's quite sweet.
Mhm.
Nice that Failsafe's got to be involved in their own little way, I guess.
Yeah. You know what's I love that entry because you get Failsafe's personality, but then we get into the next one where we have some other colorful personalities.
Yeah.
And the next one is a cautionary tale. And it starts out with Ikora approaching Eva and saying, Eris Morn is more depressed than usual, kind of thing. Like she really wants Eva to go and talk to her, which she's proud of herself for not snorting at that whole thing about Eris being depressed, which is like, okay, sassy grandma is still sassy. Got it. But Ikora is really concerned about Eris and saying that she's more depressed than usual, which is hard to tell, kind of thing. And the technicians in the Hall of Guardians are complaining, which is probably the real reason why Ikora is approaching Eva. And basically, she tries to brainstorm with Eva, and Eva says perhaps she has a friend. Well, maybe not a friend, but somebody she likes to talk to, someone who she has something in common with. And then Ikora perked up and said that there is somebody she will voluntarily talk to, which is Asher. So we have awkward, slightly depressed girl.
You have to keep going because
yeah.
The best part's the next part.
Okay, so Ikora perked up. There is someone she addresses voluntarily. A Jinsum scribe named Asher Mir. He's also, well, he's an excellent scholar. I'll reach out to him, unless you know him, of course. I don't! But I hope it goes well. I want everybody to have a happy dawning. Now, if you'll excuse me, I do have to make deliveries. And then, essentially, Ikora got a letter from Asher. She said he grumbled at first. He seemed unaware that the dawning was taking place, in fact, but I explained. And when I told him it would be very well regarded if he wrote her a dawning greeting card or went to visit her, he said he could write a card. He also said he had a dawning gift for her. And he was like, oh, how kind. I'm not so sure. It was folded in four to form a greeting card. Nothing on the cover, but inside was written, Eris, the Warlock Vanguard has approached me about cheering you up for a holiday that is going on. I shall seize the serendipitous opportunity to send you the research notes you demanded of me and on her heretical practices among the hive. Have her spurious the grounds for your request. Warmest wishes to you this dawning. Asher Mir. Did you dictate that last part to him, Ikora? Yes. Well, you had better take it to her. I wouldn't call hive research a traditional dawning present, but she did request it. And so it kind of just, oh my gosh, this just cracks me up. This is one of the longest cards, by the way. Eris also had a dawning gift for me to pass on to Asher. At least she's making an effort. Well, I can't give this to him, Ikora hissed. I can just get rid of it, right? This is beyond a question of dawning etiquette, I whispered back. She nodded, her face set. Let us never speak of this again.
The letter that she wrote to Asher back.
Uh-huh. Asher, take heed not to succumb to the whispers, as fools do. Warmest wishes to you this dawning. Eris Morn.
So good.
The most socially awkward characters in the entire game. Forced to... And they actually like each other. That's
but
the
if
thing,
you know him, I don't! So the best part is, like, Eva's just maneuvering completely around that situation. Was like, nope,
right.
Bye!
She is a master manipulator. Like I said last week. She is a master manipulator. Okay. Oh my gosh.
I bet I'll hear his shout of gratitude all the way over here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So this is the Say It With a Dawning gift. Yeah, this is for Shax. And so this was shortly after a certain card had come out, and everyone lost their mind about it.
Oh no.
And Shax was looking for a gift to give a certain special somebody. And he decided that he wanted to give a bow. And I don't really know where it went, but it's like, it basically starts off with, he tries to explain what a bow is to Eva. And he had placed a bow on the bow. And he was like, it's a compound bow for shooting arrows. It's like, I suspected he was smitten, and this would not be a short conversation. I'm like, it's like Shax is like, so Shax is the most like extroverted individual, but then it comes to his special friend, and he's like, the whole thing is hilarious because he's going by a code name, and he is trying to whisper as best as he possibly can,
Which
but
is
he's
hilarious.
but
because
he
he
shacks
can't.
because he can't.
It's gonna boom everything.
I'm like, so I guess actually my question is for you guys on this one. Who do you think this was for?
Oh, do we want to get into this one?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
just
gonna
curious.
say.
I'm just curious because I have a pretty strong opinion on who this is for, but
There's the knee-jerk reaction that it's for Mara, which is
Mhm.
what the internet blew up and had its very big Marax moment, which Black Flag just said something in chat that is hilarious. Did this bow become the vow for Crimson Days? Like Mara returned it and Shax re-gifted it to us?
oh my
That
god.
is amazing
So
headcanon.
no, it didn't because the vow is not a compound bow.
Right. But the opinions that I think is a little bit more accurate is probably Zhur.
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
thing is that he did mention that he destroyed a book of hers once. And so
Yeah,
that's where a
what
lot
made
of
me think
people
it was Mara. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what
Might
the
be. Who
internet.
knows? Maybe he's destroyed more than one person's book. I mean,
do
I
you
don't
know, it wouldn't surprise me. And you know, I'm going to get so much grief, but maybe it's for both of them.
Could be.
Interesting.
I mean, he did meet Zhur.
Yeah, well, because when he met Sure, he was like enthralled with her. Like he was like,
She's an Amazon.
she's
What do you call like the literal heart eyes?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically like Shax turned into a puppy dog. Like it was just like he was like, "You're so tall."
I see those chibi eyes coming out of the helmet for him. Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, but the reason why is because later down she says, you know, she likes literature. She likes to fight. She's real. She's very. Is a recurve bow more romantic than a compound bow?
Asking
I'm like, Jax, what the? I nodded knowingly. I wouldn't know the difference between those weapons. But maybe a book would be better. I have read Ikora's On Circles Revised Edition. It was very good. That is a terrible dawning gift.
Slightly, oh god, robotic in his response to that.
Oh my god.
All right.
Oh, gee.
Friendly face.
Yes. So what's this? Oh wait, is this no such thing as coincidence? Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one. Yeah. So this one is for Anna Bray, I think this is. Yes, this is Anna Bray. So Anna comes to see Eva one time, coming to buy supplies for the dawning. And let's see, she wants to put it, so she asked for Eva's help to put together a really small, intimate dawning celebration. So, she's apparently, sounds like she's planning a celebration with Cameron, who is her girlfriend, partner. Um, and so Eva starts, giving her suggestions about what she can get, things like lanterns, candles, and streamers. I think that's, yeah, just like um, gets her, picking up colors and that kind of thing. And then think, so after they picked up, some lanterns, Eva pulls out her biggest assortment of dawning treats and says, sharing and generosity are the heart of the dawning. This collection is the one you want. Here I paused if you want to impress someone you love. And so Anna I think decides to get it. Um, and then and then Eva tries to get her, finally the dawning gift, the most important. And Anna just says, "Oh, I've already got a good dawning gift." And apparently, Eva, so Anna puts her belongings on the counter, to show her that, she's got a necklace box. And Eva happens to scan the spines of the thick books, some with very long titles, all labeled Fuan Library, reference do not remove. Apparently, Anna doesn't pay attention to such rules like, that. Not above nicking library books. Although maybe she'll return them later. I don't know. um, and then Anna shows Eva a necklace. Here's what I picked. I think she'll like it. And Eva says, I didn't know who she was, but I admired the necklace she was showing off, an elongated pendant with an emblem of a bird of exquisite workmanship. And I think this just also shows how nerdy Anna is. She grinned that design is golden age, but the pendant also holds 35 petabytes of data.
God.
Getting a practical but beautiful gift, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
Yes.
And then, Eva convinces her to buy a book bag and some wrapping paper as well, and complete all the purchase. And then just as Anna's about to go, Zavala comes up, and
Dun, dun.
yeah, so he, calls her Anastasia. That's her very full name. And Zavala, muttered the hunter. She pushed her shoulders back and thrust out her chin. She looked fierce as a falcon. Zavala says, "Happy dawning, Anna. I'm surprised to see you in the tower." And she says, "Yeah, well, I had errands." And apparently Eva missed whatever else they said because because someone ran up with a package asking, "Hey, did I hear that woman was headed back to Mars? This one's going there too." Um, Eva says, "I ran my eyes down the packing list: candles, lanterns, candy assortment, wrapping paper, cloak, ordered by a Cameron Demusi. Got a funny feeling it was such a coincidence." And says, "I think this is meant to be a surprise. The package can wait for tomorrow's deliveries." And then when she looked back, she sees that Zavala and Anna are deep in conversation. And she says, "By this, I guess that the dawning spirit was uniting old friends." So at least Zavala and Anna are seen to be a bit more on talking terms, I suppose. So,
It's
yeah.
it's nice that you see that Cameron and Anna reunited.
Yes, that's quite cute as
I
well.
think that's
Nice.
Yes, especially the way the comic left off.
right.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "She's
Yes.
dead." No, she's not. She's not dead. She's
She's
not
alive.
dead.
We
She's
just
not.
don't know what she is at the moment.
Well, if there's been any alterations in
Right.
respect, but she's around. She's
Yes,
with
she is
Anna
around.
still.
Yeah. And just real quick, a petabyte is 1,000,000 gigabytes. So
That is a
Holy moly,
lot of
there you go.
gigabytes.
That's
35
wow.
petabytes is whew.
And then a necklace too. That's that's
Yeah,
one heck of a
yeah.
gift.
Mhm.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the list for the first episode. So it took us a little bit to get through those guys. Blue, do you want to wrap up this intro episode since it's not really an introduction, it's last year's dawning essentially.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's a good way of saying that what we kind of were talking about was the last year. So this was post Red War, like immediately post Red War, and now so going into the advanced session, we're going to be talking about this most recent dawning, which will have a few updates and also a few new figures, obviously, since things have happened since this last one. So, but yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good wrap up. Just saying that it is last year's.
To be fair, we are going to touch on a few more from last year. There's at least 3 more that are from last year in the advanced episode. I just wanted to divide them in half. Because there's friendly
Because
face, what makes us want.
Green is good at organizing.
I may have gotten that when I did the GIF of the show notes, everyone was like, "Oh my god." They weren't even done. I did that GIF. Anyway, we should wrap.
All right. Well, Jazzy, do you want to lead us in shout-outs for the intro session?
Oh boy, what shout-outs am I doing?
You know, I'll give you a second to think. So shout out for me is gonna be shout out to Pino, one of the Bungie devs, for being really on top of. The guy is kind of everywhere, and it's amazing to see his interaction with a lot of the community members, and especially with pushing out the fundraising with the T-shirt design. Everything. The other thing that he's done that was really hilarious, and I helped push as well, is he had to get a certain amount of likes to get. Cannot remember the player's name.
Nem plays, was it?
Yeah,
I think.
Nim.
I could
Yes,
be
that's
remembering wrongly.
You're right, because it was either Nim Salt or something like that. He had to get a certain amount of likes to get him to change his name. We nailed it with that. So, yes, shout out to the Bungie dev Pino, because he is an amazing guy. He's super supportive. He's always on Twitter, it seems, at least when he can be, and has been really a big voice in the community as far as helping people who want to interact with a dev interact with them. So, shout outs to Jazzy.
Okay. Oh, this is more broadly, not really for one person, but I'll say first shout outs to Bungie in general for doing the T-shirt for raising money for the Australian bushfire relief. Really, really awesome to see you guys, supporting Australians. Yeah, I guess during these times of these really bad bushfires, and doing what you can to help raise money to help people and to help animals as well. And I guess tying in with that also, yeah, shout out to DDU podcast for helping to organize another bushfire relief as well, and also for the uh, all the streamers and content creators who've been getting involved with that and helping to raise money. Yeah, you guys are all awesome.
Yeah. Also, next time, Bungie, can you do a fundraiser to improve the internet access for Australia? Because I swear,
That
some
would
of
be
those.
nice.
Oh my gosh, right?
That would be very nice. No complaints from me. No, that would definitely be nice.
All right, Blue.
Well, you guys nailed it both with my shout outs. Really just, the support for the Australians through this time and all that. You just keep pouring out the support, because that's what really the community shines when we come together and help people. So it's always great seeing that. For those of you in the live chat, Pins is being kind enough to share the Tiltify link that DDU set up. And then also the Bungie group has the t-shirts as well that we've kind of mentioned already. But, as always, just again, thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring.
You fixed it. He's been doing this, and until next time, and then shutting the episode off. And it's been like, I can't handle it.
Oh. Well, it's good that you fixed it now. There you go.
I think he's just he's keeping me on my toes with the closers.
I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Don't worry.
So, Jazzy, I know you said you had like the 2.5 hour idea. I know we're gonna. Yeah, so it's up to you. You were more than welcome to join us for the advanced episode and like keep doing this. And even if you only do like part of it, just like shooting a note saying, "Hey, I gotta jump off" or anything like that, you are more than welcome to join us on.
Yeah, I should be able to stick around. Yeah, it should be all right.
Yeah.
No, I still got some time, so
Cool. Yeah, it
I
just
should be
like I
able to
said,
stick around for it.
just if it does end up being a time crunch for you, just put it in the private
Mhm.
chat room that you need to head out. We will you can just like dip out from there and we'll talk about how you had to leave or anything like that and just
Oh,
do like a general thank you thing
it
afterwards.
should be alright. I can
Yeah.
probably stick around.
Hey, if you're having
I don't
fun, why
know.
not?
Yeah, I can stick around. I can probably stick around for
Yeah.
let me see, another hour and a half or so. Yeah, it should be alright.
Hopefully this next one goes a little bit faster because we don't have to do the introduction kind of interview.
Yeah.
Did. I did not warn you. I'm sorry about that.
No, 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 that's all good. I know I probably rambled on for a bit.
No, you're good. It's good. Also, Pins, thank you for the gift subs.
Yes, thank
Jazzy
you,
had
Fitz. It's very
yeah,
nice. Nice of you. Thank you.
yeah, now you're sub to us. You get the
Oh, wow. I feel so special.
right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, he's a very sweet and and he indulges
Thanks,
us quite a
Pens.
bit. Yeah. GG for sure. All right. Blue, you ready for round two?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? It's something that's kind of exciting.
Huh?
Julie's on board for helping me create the cosplay for this year.
Nice.
Yeah,
Are
and
are you allowed to reveal what you're cosplaying, or is it a
I
surprise?
don't remember if I talked about it on the show with Howard or not. I'm kind of wanting to keep it a surprise. I'll type it in private chat
Oh,
show for you guys.
okay.
Uh,
Oh, wow.
I bought the boots for it today, so I have that
Oh,
taken,
nice.
which is a big chunk of it, and then the creation of everything else will be pretty easily. No. Blue, that was just for the end of the introduction episode. Just kind of a shout out that I had semi sort of forgotten.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes.
Yes,
Boots. Shoes.
yes.
Shoes.
Nice.
It's not Petra Veru. I did Petra last year. I will tell you that much. I'm not giving you any more.
And I would love to cosplay sometime, and I've never
Right?
done it before. Probably need
Last
to
year
set
was
up.
my first time ever trying it. It's very I'm very casual. Some of those
Mm.
cosplayers are so
Oh
so
man,
crazy.
I love seeing like I've been to a few cons. Like we have Oz Comic Con here, and I've been to PAX Oz the last 2 years. And man, I was one of the things I was seeing the incredible cosplays. Like some people put I don't know so much time and effort into it, and they're so deep. Wow, that just looks so amazing. I know there was some really cool Destiny ones I saw the last
Yeah.
2 PAXs of that. Yeah, some really, really cool ones. I'd love to do one one. Really should, but we'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. It doesn't have to be super, super crazy. Mine I did not go blue for Petra when I did Petra last year. It was just a very humanized Petra, I suppose.
Oh, nice. Okay. So was it like her actual like what she wears in game, or was it more different sort of take on
It
what she'd wear or something?
it was a slightly modified version of what she would wear. So I had a
Okay,
white
interesting.
jacket. Yeah, I had like a white
Mm,
jacket that was cut asymmetrically. So it kind of gave that feel of what Petra wears
mm.
in game with boots and necklace couple of other things that would be and I have my hair cut basically like hers, where one side is
Oh,
essentially
okay.
shaved rather than um, braided back.
That
But
would've been super cool.
right, yeah, it was fun. It was not the most intense cosplay there, but it was a lot of fun to kind of be her for a little while.
Yeah, that does seem like it'd be something fun to do.
I hadn't thought of that, Blue, but that is brilliant.
That was my initial reaction was like, I'm hanging out with you.
1 year I'll have to come to Guardian Con. Have to save up some money.
It's
It's not
fun.
cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
no,
love
I
to.
bet
Just
not.
I know flights from Australia are cheap.
Yeah. No, I know.
1
I think
year, 1 year I'll make it, once I can save up some money. Definitely, like, come and would love to come and meet more people. I know we had, there
I
was
think
a
the con
uh
down there.
yeah, we had a meet up at, PAX last year. DDU, got in contact with Bungie and,
Mm-hmm.
managed to organize a
Because
guess
that's
you call it, like, an official
the
meetup. They
beer
had,
garden. Is that the beer garden that you guys did?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the one. So, I don't know how many people turned up to that. It was a lot, but we had like before that was a panel. They had a Destiny panel, and the voice actor for Eris was there, and I
Morla.
think they had early in yeah, they also had one of the Bungie developers, Victoria. I can't remember her surname. Um, but there were so many people who turned up. I couldn't believe it. And this was like this was on a Friday as well. So like, there were people who couldn't make it because they were working.
Mhm.
And like there was I think I've heard they had like 700 people turned up for the panel. Like it was bananas. I think
Wow.
so many people. I was like, holy moly. And
And then
from what I heard,
log
the
log
pe-
it glue.
Oh, that
yeah.
was hilarious.
Yeah. That was good. That was good fun. Yeah, I think I heard that the people from Bungie were really surprised to see um how many people turned up. I think it was nice, probably nice for them to see. There's like
Mm-hmm.
a sizable community in Australia, so hopefully they'll come and do some more things down here since
Yeah.
Right.
we often tend to miss out a little bit. But it was really nice. It was super yeah, it was nice, like, getting to meet people, had people coming from interstate and, uh, awesome, yeah, just getting to meet, like, friends, people I've known for years, but, like, haven't actually met in person, so that was super awesome.
That is the
So, yeah,
beauty.
would definitely love to go to Guardian Con and be able to meet some other people I know through Destiny as well. So, 1 year, I'll get there 1 year.
You could do what did
Sorry?
Mylan. Mylan
Yes.
crashed with Man at Arms last year.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I did hear. Yeah, I think I know Matt went over. I don't know if there's any
He he became a
other
meme
Aussie.
because of it, but that's fine.
Yeah. He was a full out zombie for most of it because of the sleep
Wouldn't
deprivation.
blame him.
Yes. All right. Round two.
Mm.
Alrighty. Let me kick this off. There we go. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on January 17th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat as we continue our discussion over the lore book Dawning Delight. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the hunter with all the secrets, green-eyed music lover.
And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Dr. DrJazzyBebop. Jazzy, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes,
But,
yes.
well, enough with my chatter and our chatter. I know everyone is looking forward to diving into the discussion, and we have quite a few entries left to do. So let's get right to it. I think I'm up first. Am I remember that correctly? All right, so we're gonna talk about the nom-nommer of the noms, the Drifter, Friendly Face, and continuing with Grandma Stranger Danger's very kind ways of saying things. She starts this off pretty bluntly. She says, "Have you ever met someone who immediately rubbed you the wrong way?" I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like that's really that's all you need to know. Um, it's just like I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so. This is the one where like she's like, and you get the sense that Eva, I think Eva says, old Eva knows a lie when she hears it. I'm like, I bet you do. Uh, and then so because she starts talking to him and she starts explaining the dawning and all that. And because Drifter basically says, I don't know that I've been anywhere that actually celebrated the dawning. Why don't you tell me a thing or two? And she's like, okay, I'll play along. And she keeps trying to bring the conversation back into like what's going on with him. And he like it's like listening to two manipulators talk around each other, because he is like constantly dodging and she is constantly like realigning the conversation, and he's constantly like deflecting it back. And and then basically he like starts getting cornered, and he's like, well, best be on my way. I've taken enough of your time. Who knows how much of us has left? And he just like the decor, good colors, and then vanishes. Like it's just like
Oh, jeez.
what was it? I've heard other people talk about this strange man. They mostly say the same things. Very friendly, if a little mysterious. On the other hand, I've also heard some things I won't repeat. They're far too gruesome to be true, and I won't facilitate spreading false rumors. I'm sure his eating habits are no different from yours or mine.
Confirmation that Eva finds his idea of eating all the things a little creepy.
Yeah, suffice to say, something is off about him. I'd recommend keeping an eye on him. Yeah, Eva, we know. We do. I do also like the fact that his particular cookies are made with taken butter and null taste.
And they're dark motes, right?
Dark chocolate motes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just gosh, I love Eva's like she's like I don't I mean I can't say that I don't like you, but I don't like you. I don't trust you. Chat. At least he isn't a cannibal, I think.
I mean,
oh god.
Didn't you say he's tried to eat? What does he try to eat? He's tried to eat something, but he can't finish it. It's a scorn.
He's tried to eat the
explodey ones.
Yeah,
right?
the explodey ones. Scream.
Oh god.
Scream. Mm-hmm. It's like one of these days I'll get it. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh god. Why?
Because.
Oh my gosh.
Scream. My favorite one with him is still when he's like, you'll never see eye to eye with the hive. And I'm like, oh my god. Like I heard that and I couldn't stop laughing for like the first couple minutes in that match. I was just like, what just happened?
Actor.
So good.
So,
all right.
Anyways, A Tale Twice Told, I think, is the one that's up next.
Yes. So, this one is about Spider. Man, Eva has some very interesting ideas about who a spider is.
We're starting this episode right off on the creepy stuff. Let's go.
Yeah.
So she said, she starts off, but I've coming back to the towers, reconnecting with everyone. I missed my friends while I was away, and I thought about them every day. Even when what you're doing, what you know is right, it can be hard not to wish for times past. She says, she wants to catch up on everything, but Guardians are so busy, and you can barely get a word out of them most of the time. And she feels like she's just getting drips of information, and she says, Spider is a name I hear over, but who is he? A common criminal? A deity? A friend? Some accounts paint him as all three. What is it about this spider fellow that compels these guardians so? And do I have it right that he feeds on ghosts? Ghosts, what an utterly despicable practice. Even the even the most detestable ghost doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Yes, I am thinking of one in particular, but I'm afraid old Eva will keep that secret to herself. Makes me wonder, geez, who's this detestable ghost that she's thinking of? And then she says, from what she can put together, the spider fellow had a group of barons. I I think if that's correct, his relationship with them seemed tenuous. I don't know what one gets up to on this Tangle Shore, but I think he had them all killed. Um, Before that, though, Spider's barons broke into some kind of high security prison out in space. They were looking for something belonging to Spider. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was ghosts, or maybe it was weapons. Although why he'd have someone look for those things in a prison, I don't know. While his barons were in there, the prisoners started to fight them. That rascal Cade 6 was also in the prison on a mission that I don't think was related to Spider's mission. They ended up in the same fight, though. What it sounds like then, while everyone was fighting, Reef Queen's brother arrived, and oh, she's got all the details all, all around the. And she says, when I first heard the story, at this point, I thought to myself, oh, good, finally someone on our side. The awoken prince will help get things in order. Now, keep in mind that I had always heard he was a bit stiff, but also that he was willing to help when it came down to it. That was before his sister, though. Loss can do terrible things to us. Um, and she says, this leads me to the only detail I know with absolute certainty. Aldrin Sov killed Cade 6. I don't know why, but I suspect it was in part because the prince succumbed to the pain in his heart and lost the ability to see things as they are. Anyway, once Spider's barons left the prison, they ran all over the reef. I guess they had found what Spider was looking for, but decided to keep things for themselves. This Spider sent people after the barons, and I don't think any of the barons survived. While all of this was going on, someone killed Aldrin. I assume it was revenge for Cade, but I can't get anyone to tell me with certainty who did it.
Hmm.
Based on everything else I hear about the spider, I wonder if Aldrin also wanted his work. Um, yeah, so, and it's kind of sad. She seems to get right down to, yeah, possibly what happened to Aldrin. It's
She's
nice.
a bit more
Oh, sorry, you
contemplative
go.
in these. No, you're good. She's a bit more contemplative, I think, in
Yeah,
these entries.
yeah, that's the thing. It seems like maybe seems like she's a bit more, I guess, empathetic
Hmm.
towards why he may have uh, gone the way he did, I suppose. Which maybe, I mean, maybe that could also lead into her, adopting him. Adopt
Yeah,
Guardian Aldrin, please.
that'd be
um,
interesting.
hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because this entry is followed up with the entry on Petra, and throughout the entire entry on Petra, she's basically trying to discern if the awoken have humanity, if they are considered part of humanity. And she talks about how if she were to ask Petra eh, about it, she feels. Let's see here. How did she say it? There's it. Is it because they are made like we are? The Cabal are roughly built as we are, but we do not consider them part of humanity. Is our shared relationship with the Traveler, as hard as it is to believe I've heard the Fallen had a relationship with the Traveler, they are not part of humanity. Does humanity consider only those who choose to walk among humans? But by that logic, reef-born awoken who remain in the reef are not part of humanity. I don't believe that's true, and yet, Petra has spent most of her life in the reef, hasn't she? I know she was here playing emissary for a while, but she has always considered the reef her true home. Would she describe herself part of humanity? I think if you walked up to Petra and asked, are you a member of humanity? She would respond, I am an awoken of the reef. If you pressed her further and said, yes, but which side are you on? I believe she would say, the side of Queen Mara Saw. And so Eva continues to kind of question if humanity is something we choose and if there's stipulations tied to it. And could it be that the awoken are part of humanity because of all of these stipulations? Individually, these ideas don't define humanity any more than a cloak defines a hunter, but collectively, that they are built as we are, that they share our relationship with the traveler, and that many of them gladly walk among us here on earth. Maybe that is what makes them part of humanity. Everything bound together just as we are all together. That togetherness is what helped us win the Red War, and I truly believe it will help us push back the darkness for good. Never forget that our unity is what makes us strong, and that the Awoken will always be a part of that. So Eva's very reflective and a lot more contemplative than I think most people would give her credit for if they just sat around the tower and just listened to her talk about the dawning and her lost family and everything. She's involved a lot more in the humanity, quote unquote, of the game itself with connecting people together.
Hmm. That sounds like a good summary. Good way of describing that
Mm.
she tends to see things perhaps that others may not see. Like even that one with Vala,
Mm-hmm.
like instead of just, thinking it's a bit embarrassing, but he's, telling this joke and not doing it very well, she thinks he, very brave for showing that other side of him. And
Mm-hmm.
she says, yeah,
It's
interesting
okay
that she
that you're
sees it
not.
like that. Like most people wouldn't. They just look at it and go, "Oh God, that's Zavala like trying to tell a
Right.
joke and failing." But she's like, I admire him. He's coming out of his comfort zone and doing something
Mm-hmm.
a bit different. So
And it's
yeah,
just that realization that even though you're different or that the people around you are different, it doesn't mean that you treat them disrespectfully. Everybody's still a part of the group, even if you don't necessarily get along with them. Granted,
hmm,
Eva does have moments where she's going to avoid Eris and Asher or kind of not feel so totally comfortable with Drifter or Failsafe, but she also tries to see their perspective in some ways, even if she doesn't
hmm.
necessarily understand it. Blue, you ready for rumors?
You get used to him.
Ah, yes, that one.
so so Eva sees a lot of things, but you know what she does when she sees something that she's not expecting? She screams and hides.
I mean, Zer is a little weird.
I just love it. She says, the first time I ever saw Jur, I was by myself at my stall in the tower. The old tower, I suppose you'd call it now. I hadn't been there long at all. I looked up, and this man had appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. His back was to me, but even from behind, something seemed off about him, something in his posture. As he started to turn, I noticed his whole face appeared to be covered in hair. Even seemed to be moving, gently flowing on its own. But there was no wind. When the light hit his face, I screamed and ducked down behind my cabinets. I was sure this abomination had come to invade us. The more of them were out, just out of sight, and we were done for. So she goes on, and she's like, no one else was screaming. I heard no sounds of distress. So she peeks out. She says everyone is just going on with their business. Like no one was panicking. Some were even talking to him. Most people just ignored him. And so Tess came over and she's like, what is that? And Tess is like, oh, that's Zer. He comes through every so often and sells, hard to find things. Could do with a bit of a wardrobe update, but he's otherwise harmless. Oh, oh my gosh.
That is a cute story.
Oh my god, it's so funny because it's just one of those things where it's like it shows the like genuine character response of a character within the Destiny universe. Like, it's just oh yeah, and she even goes on, he's called Zer. I'm not sure why one draws the tiny arrow over his name, but it's important to try and respect the wishes of those we don't understand.
Oh,
I'm like,
good on
oh my
Eva.
gosh.
Do you think that's
Oh,
Bungie giving us a jibe that we're not actually pronouncing his name
I,
correctly phonetically?
I
I
bet you it is. I just love the fact that she just is like, I don't know why we draw little arrows over his name.
Because I'm trying to remember what the sound is. You guys go ahead and move on with it. I'm going to look up the phonetic
All right.
Oh, okay.
pronunciation of should
So I
be.
think rumors is that. Oh yeah. So Eva's quote about Zur is, "I've heard that his will is not his own, but I bet he will enjoy these." Grandma jokes. Anyways, rumors is next up.
All right. So this one's about Osiris and Osiris and Vance as well. So
The joke. The
Eva has
joke is
quite a
just
good joke
terrible.
at the start. Here is a joke for you, my friend. A follower of Osiris and a skeptic sit down at a table to work out their differences. They die there. And then she says, "Don't ask me where I heard that, but don't be surprised if you think the people of the city don't poke fun at you Guardians now and again. You're not paying attention."
Mm-hmm.
um, and then says she's heard rumors about Vance. Says the rumors started like myths, how he might use the knowledge discovered by Osiris to perform miracles or to raise Guardians to their full potential. Then, for a reason I couldn't see myself, the rumors changed. Vance was a fanatic acquainted with Osiris, left waiting endlessly on the sands of Mercury for something that would never come. Um, and it seems like she kind of feels a bit sorry for him. She says, "As for me, I think we should believe in things and people we can see for ourselves. What someone does now is better proof of their spirit than what they have fabled to have done. It seems to me that waiting forever for your hero to return, poring over the same books and letters, relying on a hope for the future you cannot control, well, I see it as wasted time. Then I tend to act toward action myself. Busy hands, busy mind. But I also think it must be lonely and disheartening to be abandoned by your idol, even if that abandonment exists only in your own mind. Imagine a man like Vance holds a lonely vigil. I think, perhaps, he knows what people say about him, and he tries to lift himself above it, and drives himself further into isolation. But then I've never met him. I don't know which rumors are true and which are silly gossip. I only know that the dawning welcomes everyone, especially those who feel the most isolated." Which is quite nice. Nice,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, to be included. Maybe that was also a throwback to how I think he wasn't, you couldn't give cookies to him last year. He was not included. So
Mhm.
apparently Eva's decided, got to include Vance this year.
Summary of
um,
this card is that Guardians are a-holes.
That is the short and sweet version.
Of this. I mean, I really think that I do like those ending two paragraphs on this card,
mm,
because I think she hits the nail, square
yeah.
with the whole thing with the dawning and with Vance, because Vance has his own, like, taking what you think about Vance and putting it aside for a second and then looking at the development of his story, it's like, it is kind of a sad story in and of itself about how that individual has been treated by Osiris. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know. Like, the more you think about what the brother Vance has gone through, I mean, like, the guy can't see. Like, he's blind, and he
Mm.
has somehow managed to get from the reef back to Mercury. So, you got to give him kudos for that, at least. I also don't understand how he was reading off the data pad, but I still am.
We don't question it. Braille,
Maybe
maybe, I
he's
don't know.
maybe it's a fashion statement. His blindfold. Maybe he's not actually blind.
No, he's, because, like, that was the thing.
I know he is. Like I
He
know. Like I'm just trying to make a.
it's a textured pad.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, I'll go with that.
there's
He's got it.
actual
The
technology out there for that.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp that he had a Bluetooth headset underneath the thing, and it was just telling him what it was saying on the pad. Like,
But he looked down at it.
yeah, but he was pretending, because he was like, nah, these guys think these guys will think I'm cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, you ready for a sad one? The
Which
good
one is this
fight.
one? Oh,
This is
yeah.
Nadia. When Guardians found their way into the Dreaming City, many of them came to tell me about it. Their stories of a beautiful place filled with towering cliffs of ancient, holy buildings were like fairy tales to me. As with many of the stories I hear from Guardians, I marveled that such a thing could be real. I remembered in particular an awoken warlock named Nadia, who came to visit me in the way many Guardians do, quiet, sheepish, hoping for tea. So, Blue, if you could remind us who Nadia is, that would be amazing. Because I remember that it came out during
Yeah,
season
she actually isn't
season of the
in the
Four.
lore. Hang on real quick, I'll pull up my sheet.
But Nadia sat at my table with her untouched cup of tea. And basically, she says, I feel like I found a piece of myself and then lost it all at once. I know guardians aren't meant to look for their heritage beyond the traveler, but the dreaming city felt like home. And she's kind of sheepish about feeling this way, and the reason why she feels like she lost it is because the dreaming city immediately got thrown into the curse cycle. So she got it back for that brief moment, and then the curse cycle happened, and so it feels like it's already been defiled and she's lost it again.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels like she's mourning the loss of something she never really had. And Eva kind of goes on to, she doesn't necessarily understand the plague of the awoken homeland. And this is, again, I had that theory that came up last week. This does kind of lend itself to that theory just a bit. I know that it came about through a great misunderstanding and peril. I know that Eldrin Solve and another creature I had never heard of were at the center of that peril, but from what I hear, there were no clear enemies in that story. No single place to lay blame. But yes, Nadia is...
So Nadia, so there's a discrepancy that is kind of interesting. Nadia is Nadia, and I think this might just be a typo, but Nadia, which is Nadiya, is a member of the Six Coyotes and was actually a member of Cade 6. Nadia is the one that's mentioned here. I think they're meant to be the same, but they are technically spelled differently. There is a single letter difference. And so I don't know. That's why I'm not confident on that. But Nadia was actually one of the Six Coyotes. She was a good friend of Shinobu. She is the one that is with Shinobu during the Chattering Bone entry during the Great Ahamkara hunt. And she is, I think... Nadia is actually the one that kills the Ahamkara in the Chattering Bone entry. So, but again, if you search for Nadia, Nadiya, you'll get the Shinobu connection, which is the kind of the origin of, I think it's Himura Shinobu. And then Nadia was the one who kind of showed Shinobu the ropes, if you were, of what it meant to be a guardian, and then was with her at the Ahamkara hunt. Nadia, the only mention of her is actually in the Good Fight. So, but again, I think
it may not be, because Nadia with the I is a hunter.
Hunter,
and
right? That's
Nadia is warlock.
Oh.
So the guardian in this entry is a warlock.
Okay, yeah.
It's
then
mentioned
so
at
this
the very
is
beginning of it.
this is a different one.
Just a totally different character.
Mm-hmm. And this is the only mention of this character that I can find.
Which is interesting, because all other characters that we've had so far have been big names that we interact with, or at least know a little bit better. So here at the end it says, I think we are not defined by our successes, but by our ability to keep fighting when the fight seems unwinnable. Not just guardians, all of us. Thank you, all of you, for being an example of that spirit, which I think is the crux of that card, meaning the purpose behind that card is to have that keep fighting even though things are hard kind of moment. And yes, it's really sad that she's relating the aspect of awoken guardians getting to the dreaming city and having it immediately taken from her, or taken from them. But the fact that we keep fighting is, I think, the main purpose of it. Blue, would you like to talk about a very nice young man?
A very nice young man. This
Back
is
at
actually going to
birdseed
be
with him.
Yeah, this is actually really like kind of a good segue into like next week's episode. But So a very nice young man is actually Eva's encounter with Saint 14, and it's really calm. Like it's just I think it really does justice to Saint 14, um, about how humble Saint 14 actually is. Um, and then because like she basically she goes and she sits down. She kind of takes a break, and she says she gets so busy it helps to step away for a little while, remind myself of what's outside. And so she's sitting and watching the birds and the ships and the clouds and all that. And a very tall Titan comes up and it says, "Excuse me, ma'am, would you mind if I sit here?" And so she's like, "Okay." And I love that she's like, "I shifted." And then his shoulders were so broad that I had to shift over a little more. It's like, yeah, that
Aw.
sounds accurate. Like he's huge. He's like this. He's just a big guy, and then like, but the funny thing is like he had a bag of birdseed, and so then he started feeding the pigeons, and she said that she noticed a few more than usual the instant he sat down, which is kind of funny because the pigeons are like, oh, food's here, get down here now. Um, and so it was actually she didn't even really think anything of it, but then another Titan came up and said basically, she's like really nervous. She said, "It's such an honor to meet you. You're an inspiration to Titans everywhere." Um, and it was, and then she kind of turned to him and she said, as mostly as a joke, she's like, "Are you famous?" And so she's like, "Oh, well, my name," and he says, "Yes, a little bit." Like just a little,
bit.
just a little. And she says, "My name is Eva," and he goes, "Saint." And she says she sits there for a second and she's like, "Saint 14?" It's like, oh my god. And it's just like, and so it's just so funny. Like she's just like, "Wait, what?" Like, and she says, "As I said, I've heard the legend of Saint 14 before. Many legends of remarkable guardians make them seem like mythical figures, so far removed from anything the civilians of the city will ever see or experience. The legendary Saint 14 does not seem that way to me at all. In fact, I think he is a very nice young man."
Which is adorable
I
because
do
he's
It
an
love it.
is.
exo and a guardian, and it's just very sweet.
That is very cute.
Hmm. And he has an affinity for pigeons.
I love that.
Hmm. Oh, this next one. I'm excited for this next one because I think this next one is interesting as all get out.
Yes, so this one is quite short, called A Note of Warning. So not about probably anyone in particular, although it could be a little bit of a hint towards Callus, but yeah, more a general warning. So uh, Eva is essentially warning about, that it's nice to receive gifts, especially when especially a thoughtful one that was chosen for you by someone you care for. Um, if you approach gift giving with love and a selfless heart, it deepens your relationship to another person. And that it can be as rewarding to give a gift as to receive it. But if you find yourself receiving many gifts, maybe unexpectedly, look to the giver. Have you given them anything? Gift giving is not scorekeeping, but when you are showered with luxurious made of gold engraved with your name, lavished upon you with great bouts of flattery, stop and think about why you have received them. Sometimes you should question these gifts. Consider who the gift giver has favored before. Why you? Why now? If you have no satisfying or reassuring answer to these questions, the chances are good that this gift giver is carefully tallying your debts and one day will move to collect them. Not all gifts are given freely. Remember that. That's all, my dear friend. I have no story this time, just a warning. Um, yeah, it does seem probably could be related to cows for one thing,
Hmm.
with all that mention of, gifts made of gold, and certainly has been showering our guardian with gifts. But yeah, probably just could be general warning as well. Yeah.
I think it's a nice little reminder, which is also interesting considering how many cookies we are required to give characters in game.
Yes.
But but it's
That's
also
true.
the nice little reminder of it's not a tally, it's not a who gives who gifts, you should get gifts back because you gave these gifts. It's not that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Like you should be doing it, selflessly because you want to give,
mhm.
not because you're expecting something in return.
Right.
Yeah. And probably a good idea to say, yeah, if someone's giving you all these weapons and all these things and, not asking for anything in return, maybe that's a bit sus. They might want something down the line.
Yeah.
Definitely would seem to apply to Callus, I suppose. Or maybe others in general.
Perhaps. The next card is actually a really sweet. I don't know. I think it's more humanizing to Ada than a lot of the cards we've had of her. Eva talks, and this is called a touch of style. Eva talks to Ada for the first time in weeks, leading up in the preparation of the dawning. She came to me at my stall and lingered off to the side as I spoke to a customer. She was standing there pretty silently and maybe perhaps slightly nervous. And then once she was done with the customer, Ada asked, "Is the dawning a guardian holiday?" And from the mill, which apparently Eva is very privy to in the tower, kind of remembered that Ada was not. She's not a veteran of the tower. She's fairly new to it, all things considered. And she responds to Ada saying, "The dawning is for everyone in the city and beyond it, if they would like to celebrate." And Ada kind of took a moment just to think about it a little bit, and Ada says to Eva, "I have seen your patterns, your color schemes for this holiday. I have some ideas if you would ever like to hear them." And like good old grandma who used to do shaders and all the designs for us as guardians gets really kind of excited with that. She's surprised. I asked her for her thoughts right away, and she quickly learned that she has an impeccable sense for color and design. She didn't care to overtake the project of designing shaders for the dawning, but she acted as a quiet and talented consultant. Over the next week or so, we spent many hours together sorting through rolls of fabric, comparing colors, considering combinations. While I think she remained wary of growing too chummy, I like to believe she started to warm to me and to the idea of becoming a part of a long-standing city tradition. I know very little about Ada except for that she lived through the Dark Age. Those were harrowing times. Guardians then were not what they were, or not what they are today. Living through times of peril can affect us in many different ways. Sometimes those experiences change us for the better, and sometimes they don't. After all she experienced, Ada made a way of life for herself that suits her, and she has slowly begun to reconcile that life with the lives she sees being lived here in the tower and the city. That takes courage. I admire it. I kind of love that Ada is has taken on a little bit of her mother's flair for color and design,
Oh, yes, that's a good point.
or at least taken on the same kind of flair for that not just her mother, but also that whole family, that grouping of the three women that were working together for the Black Armory project. It's nice to see she has a purpose and kind of has found her a different part of herself in the tower. Blue, a necessary distance.
Yeah, this is another one that's like really, I think, really, really well written. It's a kind of an update on Eva's view of Eris, and I think it also does a really good job of capturing Eva's view of the difference between a guardian and a civilian or a mortal. She says that she knows guardians experience things that many of us will never fully understand. She says only foolish people would say, "I wish to live forever," if they're looking to find happiness. And she goes on to say, the nature of your lives is a great gift from the traveler, but also a tremendous burden, one which the guardians of the city have taken on willingly by living here with us. And because of that gift, because of that traveler's light, the guardians are constantly placed into danger. She says, the stakes are different, but the emotional toll is not. How much do you rely on desensitizing yourself to fear and trauma in order to do your essential work? And, she goes on to talk about Eris, and she says that while Eva likes to try to figure out a way to bring cheer or good conversation or good food, she always has viewed Eris to be the opposite. She had always accused her of she always oversimplified her and accused her of being gloomy. And however, with the whole, I think this was after Shadowkeep. Am I correct on that one? Is that So this would be this most recent season of Dawn. So,
Correct.
So this is after the events of Shadowkeep, or we're currently in Shadowkeep, but after the initial events of Shadowkeep, and she says that, however, I've begun to think that Eris just sees things from a different perspective than I do. The things that she has experienced are beyond anything I can imagine, and so we see the world in different ways. And I'm actually just going to read the rest of this because I really like the way it's said. She says, so yes, I believe guardians and non-guardians should live closely and try to focus on our similarities, but I also understand that sometimes our differences push us apart. For some of you, it is a necessary distance that you must maintain in order to do your work. This is a truth we must all learn to live with. All that said, Eris does play a part in many of our traditions, especially the Festival of the Lost. What a fuss she makes, though. The first time I asked her for help, she said to me, Eva, the work I am doing is essential to humanity's survival. I do not have time for a party. I said what I always say. The little things will get us through just as much as the big things. Let's not allow the flowers to wilt in the pot while you're still digging the garden, Eris. She never likes this, or she never likes that, but she always agrees. And I think she likes taking part. I once saw her hand a box of raisins to a masked guardian, stone-faced, and then turn around and smile. Eris, smiling. Once I plan a dawning event to put her in charge of, we'll have her grinning ear to ear, I'm sure of it. I love it. I love this card because it shows, it shows like how Eva is. I think somewhere earlier in chat, someone said something about Eva's kind of like the tower therapist. She really is, and it's mostly because Eva does a really good job in just accepting it, whether it's guardians or non-guardians, just accepting people the way they are, accepting them with all their faults, with all their problems, and just making it that she's like, that's okay, because you have a part to play in this machine that we all exist in. And I think that goes a long way in dealing with, the guardians, especially because the guardians have for so long in the city, and the story of the city and the last city and the tower and all that, they've been apart from the city. They don't really know how to fit in other than to be that silent protector. And Eva, again, I kind of view Eva as like that bridge that exists between the guardians and the non-guardians, and in kind of being like, no, you can coexist. You are welcome. Like, both sides of the coin need to coexist. Her view of failsafe kind of makes it name here too. You have a happy and a sad part. Well, that's not fun for either of them. Like, it's you need to have a balance between the two.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the broken frame?
I think that's me, isn't it? Lucky last entry.
Dawning
Alright.
Helpers.
Dawning Helpers. So this is about Benedict, the frame working, so to speak, for Callus. So Eva starts off with this saying, that the frames in the tower have been, very helpful to her. They've helped with all the holidays like Dawning and Festival Lost and all that. She says, I'm not as young as I used to be, and there's an awful lot of confetti to sweep up after the celebrations die down. So, Sweeper Book coming in useful there. And she says one day she found herself, in the annex. She had a box of streamers and she was looking for some help. And at the bottom of the stairs, sweeping the same patch of clean floor, was a frame, and she felt an instant sympathy for it and then a practical annoyance. Surely we could deploy our resources better. And the frame said, I am here for maintenance. And she said, You seem maintained. As she held out the box of streamers to him. This room looks well swept. Perhaps you could help me decorate the courtyard. The frame tilted his head down to look at the box. I I don't think I can read this out.
I'm here
I am
for
here for and then it's
maids.
like, yeah.
His Excellencies do not engage in conversation.
I'll let Green do it. She's good at
His majesty mad maintenance. I'm here for maintenance.
Green's having fun with that.
And so, Eva humphed to herself, sat down my box and took the broom from the frame. I leaned the broom against the wall and picked up the box again. Her back was already aching. She gave the box to the frame and then pointed to the stairs and told the frame to come along with her. And with some coaxing, she managed to look to the courtyard. And she pointed to the places where she wanted it to hang the streamers, and it just said, I am here for maintenance.
Weekly.
And
It said weekly. It was like protesting. I'm here for maintenance.
And it said, Eva says, sorry, I left it to the work without much hope that it would get done to my standards, but one can't be choosy when one is on a deadline. Not surprisingly, when I returned, both the frame and the box of streamers were gone. Deciding to choose my battles, I let it go. And now I am ever more grateful for the friendly, functioning frames in my employ.
All I have in my head is like, as soon as her back's turned, Benedict's like, get out, get out. Just runs away like, ah.
Mhm.
Just running away with the streamers.
Yeah, just like, ah.
I like how there's like the slight moment where you do the whole Emperor Callus bit.
No.
But then it also is like, don't talk to this one. Do not engage. Do not engage.
Do
This
not
one's
engage.
bad. Do not do this one.
Oh, this is good. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a funny one to end on. The fact that of all of the Dawning, Benedict is the least helpful. Period. Even Eris is more helpful than Benedict. That's saying quite a bit.
Oh dear.
Oh goodness. Benedict stole the streamers on Callus's orders to decorate the tribute hall next year. That would be hilarious.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one.
That would be amazing if Callus took on the Dawning, quite literally.
That's a good headcanon.
She get Black Flag. Black Flag is hitting on one of the things that I am going to continue to sort of break. My theory that Eva is not Bethune. Yeah, it's not a serious theory, but there are things that make you go,
get out!
Huh? Get away from her! Just, oh my gosh. Zavathune, Eva. Grandma Thune.
Grandma Stranger Danger.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Oh gosh. Oh dear.
It's so bad. Alright, so we finished Dawning Delights. There's other aspects of the Dawning, like the gifts. Last year when we did the episode on the Dawning, we talked about the gifts specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
we didn't really do gifts this year.
No.
It was more just, here's cookies. Give me RNG. That's what I was like. I did it a couple times. I'm like, wait, hang on. Where's my one-arm sweater? Like, I was like really sad that I didn't get to take him a new one-arm sweater.
Yeah, we did do cookies last time, but last time we had the gifts, that was kind of more the main quest, I would say, in the Dawn. This year, it's just go give cookies to this person, go give cookies to this person, go give cookies to this person. And granted, I will fully admit, I only handed out 6 cookies because I was like,
Yeah, I think I did a little bit more than that, just simply because. But yeah, no, I didn't get nearly as many. But again, mostly because it was just like I was like, I don't know, like without the gifts, it just didn't feel the same to me.
Perhaps. Last year, I fed Rahul a ton of burnt ends. Just saying, like that man.
The webcomic, you're gonna like it.
Poor Rahul. I don't know. Is there any other things about the Dawning that stand out to you guys? Eva's hand in the Dawning is like a big thing, but
well, I mean, it was like in the lore. It was the oh, we did do. I don't. There wasn't an entry for it, but you did have a chance to give Riven a cookie, which was an interesting project.
Yes.
I managed to do that actually.
Oh.
that was interesting. I used the wall. I figured out how to use the wall of wishes. I was like, I'm just gonna do it by myself, and I went in there. I was like, have a cookie. Don't eat me. Run away. No, I was gonna say in the lore, it actually does give the explanation of why Eva came back, which I always love seeing, is like when they actually take the time to be like, hey, this character hasn't been around in a while. Here's what she's been up to, or he's been up to, and here's actually why they're back, like in a logical manner. It's like that. It's just that little bit of polish that just kind of makes it a nice little bit more immersive. I did want to say that I like that about this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything else really to talk about with it besides the fact that this last series of entries, I think, is less a ton of character development for the other characters. You had in the first year's worth, like the concept about the awoken people with her thoughts on Petra, or you get Soraya's backstory, or a little bit of Amanda's backstory. This one, it didn't seem we had as much of that as we did the first time. It's more just interactions rather than backstory. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think that.
That's fair.
I don't know. It's a little bit shorter episode for this one. What do you think?
Dino's saying the Nada entry is from Riven.
That would explain the tie-in with the Dreaming City.
Giving the cookie.
Right? Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, she was the one who sat down with Eva and was kind of sad about once she got to the Dreaming City and found her home, it was immediately taken from her with the curse.
Yeah, I guess that's the tie-in with Riven.
I think it was a bad move to put Uldren's lore. The ship? Oh, Eververse ship. I don't think it's a bad mood per se. I mean, it is an important piece of lore, but it was an interesting choice.
The name made a lot of sense. It's a tie into Amnesia. So, which, I mean, is kind of the point of that entry, is he doesn't really know what's going on.
Do you want to read that entry since we've talked about it a few times?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
And use that kind of as our close-up, because I'm sure there's quite a few people who want to know what's going on with Uldren.
Yeah.
And this one is a nice little update of where Dear Prince is.
Of course, now I can't find it.
Amnestia. I think I put a link at the top.
Nestia. There it is. I just couldn't remember the name of it. Okay. It's actually a cool looking ship too. Not gonna lie, I like the way it looks. Looks like a pod racer. So the Dawning welcomes everyone is the flavor text, and the entry says, For the last 3 weeks, the Guardian has been camping in a rusted-out shipping container far off the main pathways that are always buzzing with sparrows. He stays out of the way of the other Guardians, and if he can't do that, he keeps his helmet on, always. All he has to his name is some beat-up gear, a ring, and a silk sheet. These are the things he woke up with. He wears the ring on a chain and keeps the sheet as a comforting reminder of something he can't remember. Sometimes he wears it draped over his shoulder. The fabric is so fine that it makes him think about the place he must have come from before this life, and how much nicer it is than where he is now. He spends his days alone. Other Guardians are an unpredictable source of pain and confusion, and they see him the same way. Some react to him with outright hostility. Others are overcome by some personal and unexplained grief. He doesn't know why. That was the most painful lesson of being reborn. It's better to be alone. So he's always alone now, except for his ghost. One night he sits with his head against his knees and listens to the different distant snaps of gunfire. He hasn't seen anyone in about a week, but he can hear them. Somehow, that makes the loneliness worse, more potent. "Did you know," his ghost says, bright but gentle, the purple glint of his shell reflects the half-light outside the crate, "that in the last city they are celebrating? They call it the Dawning. It is a celebration of friendship and hope and warmth." The Guardian keeps his eyes closed and forces down his bitterness. The silence lingers between them, heavy and filled with unsaid things, until his ghost gently bumps his shoulder. To feel good, they say to each other, "Happy Dawning." Still the Guardian says nothing, and his own silence makes him sick with himself. His ghost has never doubted him, never doubted anyone, really. He is a well of relentless optimism, and as infuriating as that is, it's also heartbreaking and comforting and a relief. The Guardian is not going to be the one to disappoint him. There has been too much disappointment in this life already. "Happy Dawning," he says.
Such a sad. I feel bad for him.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I would love to make the point, that is the actual point of this card, I think.
Oh, I'm aware.
It's like, this, yeah, I have,
It's nice to get the
Yeah, and chat's talking about the reiterate, sorry, Greg.
or it's like it's nice to get the confirmation that Mara didn't necessarily get her hands on him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know his past life. He doesn't understand what's going on.
He has no clue, and that's what actually makes it worse. Is like, it's like, I view newborn guardians or new reborn guardians as like children. Like they don't know what's going on, and that makes the way that we treat Aldrin here even more painful to think about, is because he has no context in why people like, and he picks up on it. Like some people, even if they're not mean, they're sad. They're sad, and they can't look at him. And so like in TK, I think it's what TK from the 90s said in chat, since the holiday events go by real world calendar and it's been a year since his revival, that means his rebirthday is during the Dawning, which means that he even spent his birthday alone and getting bullied by other Guardians.
Oh, poor Aldrin. That's really sad.
Mm-hmm. It's nice though that he's got that fire in him where he's not going to let his ghost down. It's the
I
same,
know, I love
it's
that.
the same fire that he had for not letting Mara down, that same drive, but it's been shaped again into letting his ghost down because his ghost constantly believes in him.
Right, and I think because it's like he says his own silence makes him sick with himself because it's letting his ghost down. Like I love how he, and that kind of speaks to that aspect of the Guardian even after resurrection, how there's like that innate habitual psyche or psychological makeup, right? It shows that was a core component of Aldrin's figure, was the need to support and the need to be with someone else, which actually makes him being lonely all the worse. But it's good that he's fixated on that, on his ghost, because, you know, in the same way that he would bend over backwards to make Mara, you know, happy, and that kind of led to unhealthy decisions on his part. But in that same way, you know, I'm really actually excited to see what his story goes from here, because if he feels that way towards pulled pork, I'm like, there's no one who's going to not support him as much as that ghost will. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like that ghost is going to, like, I just, I
Do you
can see
think
them growing, even like the fact that they are going to probably be the perfect team, I
do
think
you
is going to be
think
really
that
cool.
there is going to be further story development with him?
I
Or is this
really,
the
really hope so.
is
There's
this the
so much
last time we
potential.
see him kind of card? Because this, I could see this card being one of those. Yes, there's a lot of potential there to write for that, but I can see this card being that nod to those in the
Oh yeah,
community wanting to know what happened, because we've
right.
been wondering, where is Aldrin? We saw him
I'm.
get risen last year during the
mhm.
dawning.
I mean,
Where
to
is he
be
now?
fair, the last that we saw him could have also been the final chapter, right? You
Yeah.
know, like it could have been, he sits up and that's the way, that's, you know, that's the ending. Um, I think that is done on purpose. Obviously, it leaves that thread dangling in case they need something to pull on. I really hope that we get to see more of Aldrin, even if it's in just the text, because again, I really like the chemistry that they're building within this card between him and pulled pork, because
Mhm.
I love the conflict that creates. Like the ghost is like, you know, he explains the ghost as the well of relentless optimism. I know everyone like makes fun of pulled pork for that, but that's actually really strong. That's a strength when it comes to Aldrin's character, especially being his character being mistreated the way he has been at this point. Like pulled pork is the perfect ghost for Aldrin.
Mhm.
And so, you know, oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I can see so much really awesome directions that this story could go in. Uh, I really hope it's not the last we hear of him, but I do see what you're saying as well. It could be the kind of the tip of the hat to, hey, this is what's going on, and he kind of just fades into the background. I find that odd, as much as they put him on a pedestal for a very long time,
I
that
think it's
they would just quietly dip him out like
I don't know if
that.
it's a quiet dip out.
Well, I mean, he's not.
It's
This wasn't even in
it's
game. This was just an
it
entry.
was it's an entry, and you can get it in game through
Right.
the
But what I
ship,
mean is,
but
like, there's not, like,
it
for a character of this importance, it would, like, especially since he was such an important character, and then they made the random cutscene that shows him getting resurrected. To me, it just seems like a
that there's something else.
anticlimactic. It just seems anticlimactic to me that if this is the last thing that we see of him, you know, like, why, I don't know. To me, that's just me personally, kind of being like, we were on a high level with him. We had a random, like, they went through the pain of making a cutscene of him getting resurrected, and literally that's the only thing that happens in that cutscene.
Right.
And then this is like, I'm like, I'm okay with this being like an update, but I would just be surprised, honestly, if this is the last we hear of him.
I don't know. Depends if anybody wants to write for him, and depends on where the story goes, because maybe we do have Aldrin come back at some point
Hmm.
when we get more confirmation about what's going on with Mara. But I
Right.
can
I mean,
very much
because
so see it just him, this being the sad ending to that story, because not all stories in Destiny have to have a happy ending.
oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Well, and even the potential is not necessarily for happy. I do see
Right.
this being put on hiatus because I think the Awoken are going to be put on the back shelf for a while.
Mhm.
They've been front and center for a very long time, and I think that I don't know what faction is going to be brought up, but I think that the Awoken are probably going to get put a little bit back. And that being said, Aldrin is a crucial component within the Awoken chapters. So like, I think I agree with you. If they bring Mara back, I think the conflict that is potential there for her and Aldrin is too much to ignore. Like, especially knowing that Aldrin is out there, like I don't see that happening. Like, I don't see them leaving that particular piece of drama just like it's because it's such an easy story hook. Like, it's like, hey, Mara's back. She wants us to go find her brother. Done. Like, that's just like quest right there. Like, to me, that's my DM side coming in. I'm like, this is an easy plot hook that just is like there. Like, it's a massive plot hook. And you would be silly not to partake in it, because especially with the emotional investment that a lot of people have with his character, whether it's bad or good. Like there's a lot of strength of a emotional opinion on Aldrin. So
I think that's a good place to start moving up. Kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, I mean, right. I mean, welcome to Bungie.
Nice.
Welcome to Destiny.
Yeah, would be good to see him back. I'd like that. I guess I'm a bit of a sucker for redemption stories, so even if it takes a while, I'd like to see a story where he is somehow able to redeem himself. Not that he can ever undo things he's done, but
and like with Aldrin,
yeah.
I think it also begs the question: does he have to redeem himself?
Not necessarily have to,
because like technically his slate was wiped. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, no, I meant I know that like he is technically a different
but in the eyes of the community,
person.
yeah,
I guess
I can see that.
No,
yeah,
you know what they should do?
Yeah, I guess unusual redemption story. Say,
and this is just me being cheeky. They should have Aldrin sitting on the old throne where Mara was when we first saw her.
Oh, he burned that down.
Yeah.
He did, but
did he burn the room down? I don't know.
Well, it was on fire in the scene. But wouldn't it be kind of an interesting return to that story?
I'll be honest.
If they just had
I'm both hoping and afraid is going to happen is that Aldrin, this version of Aldrin, is going to become Crow, and then we're going to find him. We're going to find him in old Chicago, because it's an asset that's already there. There's the whole. That's the whole cutscene of him standing on the building holding a gun to us. And it's never been put in game. Like, oh my god, like the community will lose their freaking minds if that comes back. Like, I mean, because that's what, 6 years old now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
There's
it's gonna
no
be interesting.
Way he's gonna be Hunter Vanguard Black.
No, I don't see.
He's not experienced enough nor old enough, I would say.
So, but yeah, all right. So wrap up. Let's do shout outs. Green, do you want to lead us in shout outs?
Secondary shout outs. Shout outs for this one. Shout outs to my Titan buddies all across the interwebs. I know you eat crayons and some of you glue, but I still love you. But shout out to all you guys. I know you guys get grief for all sorts of different things. And that's okay, because we all get grief for all sorts of different things. It's just some are a little bit more deserving than others. I'm going to get hate mail.
I don't understand why you get hate mail for speaking the truth.
No, I mean, okay. No, I really do love my Titan buddies. They are some of the sweetest, most honest people. that I've ever chatted with. And of course, I'm assigning a personality trait to somebody who chooses a certain class, but they, I give them grief. It's well deserved. Shoulder charge has way too much auto aim.
But do
I
you
don't
love
think I have
them
any.
as much as they love crayons?
I I love them as much as they love glue.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The sweetest and most honest crayon eaters. Chat.
I don't think they all eat crayons. Maybe
Uh,
just some
No.
of them.
No.
Jazzy, do you have any shout outs?
Um, I'll give a shout out to Baxter and all the other people who help out with Ishtar Collective, all the staff, and all the awesome people who help us with doing transcripts. Yeah, that's all. Really appreciate the help, and
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for helping. Yeah, for helping out with good lord, this with a yeah really great launch site. Much appreciated.
I think a thank you goes out to you on top of that
right.
Oh,
because
thank you.
you've contributed a considerable amount to that website.
Oh, thank
That
you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it has
I
been a while.
and we use that almost exclusively. There are a few things we'll grab from like Destinypedia, but a lot of what we deal with every week on the show, we are constantly linking back to Ishtar because that's where it's at.
Primary source.
Certainly is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely
Absolutely.
is.
For sure. Blue. Shouties?
Yeah, no, I mean, just again, big thank you to you, Jazzy, for taking time
Oh,
to
thank you.
figure out your schedule. I know because scheduling
Our time
is,
zone's wonderful.
yeah,
Right?
scheduling is a nightmare when it comes to some things. And I just appreciate like people, you mainly, because this is like when we try to do the DQLRs with Matt. It's like, so if we do it at 6 a.m., is Matt gonna still be awake? Maybe. Like
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But no, really appreciate finally getting a chance to get you on here and chat with us. Um, and just again, big shout out to everyone who's taking the time to support the Australians during this time. Like it's just I can't say that enough. But yeah, that's all I got. So thank you, listeners, for your time. And until next time, remember: with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring.
And with that being said,
You're breaking up. What?
I said, and that with that being said, and I had messed it up. It's fine.
Oh,
It's a
okay,
poor joke.
okay,
It was a terrible joke.
okay.
Terrible joke.
So all I can think, Rick messaged me earlier today, and he's like, "So am I out of my mind thinking that this is just the flower game?" I was like, "No." Because that's
Oh, with
exactly
the
what
Vex Network
yeah, I'm
thing?
like, that's exactly
Yeah.
what I see when I look at this stupid thing that everyone keeps posting is like, it's the game of life. Like, that's whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but also now all I can think of is Quarters of Time as Beat Saber.
It is fascinating to see the progression of what's come out of it.
Well, they said something about the most recent ones, like a copy of Pangea.
That is a really
Like,
oblique.
well, it was like, that's what I thought too. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Because I saw it and I was like, really? That's where we're going with this connection? Oh, yeah. The other funny thing is, did you hear the Bife translation to French?
No. Oh no.
Ham,
What?
Barbaric put "my name is Bife" in Google Translator from English to French.
What is
Oh
it?
dear.
Hang on, let me pull it up. Bear with me, it's gonna be a little loud.
My name is Bife. My name is Beef.
Beef.
What? Oh god.
My name is Bife.
My name is Beef.
My name is Beef.
Oh
Yeah,
jeez.
Thank you. We're done recording.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was
Sure,
so
just a little-
fucking hilarious.
Are you? Yeah. How you feeling?
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind.
I think that's part of the point.
Someone just posted a picture of the.
You don't feel. I see. It does take a.
Where did that? Yeah, this thing's kind of like getting ridiculous. This map thing.
Glad has been working on it for a while. Jazzy, I'm gonna put in the last little bit of things that we need from you in the chat.
Oh god.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're already
My
like.
god.
So they're connecting it to like maps from Destiny, like EDZ, the old Russia map.
Wow.
I'm trying to find where the ones that was like they were talking about Pangea, and I was like, my brain hurts, and I'm not even paying attention. Like,
Yep. Okay, I have some dog throw up to clean up real quick. So
well, that's not fun.
That's alright. I'm probably gonna have to be jumping off anyway, but thank you
Yes.
very much for
Yeah.
having it's really lovely chatting with you guys.
Definitely. Stream.
Yes.
Have a great night. I have to get up early to take little one to Pinewood Derby, so bye. I'm gonna go try to go to sleep.
Later.
Yeah. Thanks again, Jazzy.
No
Like I
worries.
said,
Thank
it's
you.
been